Welcome to the Intercourse Show. I am your host, Mr. B. Today we have a very exciting show for you. We are discussing loyalty. What do you do when someone you think was a close ally of yours turns on you? Today, we're going to review a video by PBD, Patrick Bet-David, and his organization over there, Valuetainment. They interviewed Michael Cohen. For those who don't know, Michael Cohen used to be Trump's personal attorney for the Trump organization, and then he followed him into politics. He worked with him for over 10 years. Michael Cohen, a few years back in 2020, decided he was going to turn on Trump. So he decided to violate attorney-client privilege, to tell Trump secrets, and then for the duration of the Biden campaign or the Biden years in office, Michael Cohen proceeded to attack Donald Trump, calling him all kind of names other than the son of God. He attacked the man's character, said he was, not good. He would never win another election. He was going to go to jail. He was avidly working to get Trump put away for life because he felt that Trump betrayed him. And as a result, the 2024 election happened, and unfortunately, Michael Cohen, did not get his wish. Trump came back into office. The axis of power shifted from Democrat to Republican, and Michael Cohen then started to take more of a conciliatory tone. As he started to take a conciliatory tone, all the news outlets like the CNN and the different MSNBC and the different platforms, liberal platforms that used to give him an audience or entertain him as he was criticizing Trump, decided that they were going to part ways because he started to say more complimentary things about Trump, especially as he sees that Trump won the popular vote. Trump also has a high approval rating amongst his group of voters. I think it's like 92%, something crazy. And it puts Michael Cohen in a weird position because Trump has been taking actions against his adversaries, and Michael Cohen might be in the crosshairs. So he's trying to hedge, and in the middle of trying to hedge things, Michael Cohen finds himself in a position where he said some complimentary things to Trump or about Trump. Now, in so doing, it alienated the liberal left that he was trying to appease, and they eventually parted ways from him. They kicked him off his show, and now he's sort of a lone wolf, a nomad in no man's land. He's not accepted by the left, and he's hated by the right. And now this guy has the gall to go on to the Patrick Bet-David show and to oh my God, shamelessly try to crawl back into Trump's corner. This guy's got policy advice. This guy is talking about missing Trump and his kids and how he feels Trump owes him an apology and what would he say to him if he could, and he's going to put a call in, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, I had a hard time watching it without laughing because, it takes a lot for you to shamelessly put your tail between your legs. And for a person you turned your back on, betrayed, and was trying to destroy, try to go grovel back in such a shameless manner. I just think it takes a different type of person to do that. But this guy apparently has it in him. So with that said, we're going to go and review the 2-hour-long conversation that he had with Patrick Bet-David, and I'll make my commentaries along the lines. But I think it's ridiculous what I've heard and saw from this man. It's crazy that he's even thinking that Trump would entertain this. And I pray that Trump has enough common sense to not entertain this foolishness, because a guy like this who's willing to stab you in your back once, they'll certainly do it twice. And so I don't know if he calls Trump, whether or not Trump will pick up the call. He may, but I don't believe that Trump would ever trust this guy again and bring him back into his orbit. But, we'll see how it all plays out.
He was the ultimate loyalist.
It's not a question of flip. It's a question of
answering questions.
You flipped, though.
It's not a flip.
Michael, you went on every single channel. You talk negatively about the president.
The man who once said he'd take a bullet for Donald Trump.
The only time I would not, if he's the one that was pulling the trigger.
I pled guilty in federal court to felonies for the benefit of individual number one. And for the record, individual number one is President Donald J. Trump.
Ex-Trump attorney Michael Cohen says New York prosecutors pressured him to target President Trump.
I would never have testified. I didn't want to.
And then you've been canceled now by both sides.
They started getting 20,000 people telling them if Michael Cohen remains on the network, we're unsubscribing. My audience will say, are you back in his camp? Are you bending the knee? I almost can't say anything.
You chose that job. That comes with the territory. Probably two communities watching this saying, why would Michael Cohen go on the PBD podcast? And number two, why would we have Michael Cohen on the podcast today after he just got fired by Midas Touch? They cut his show and we started talking. We've been talking for about almost 2 years because I wanted to get him on to talk about some of the decisions that he made. And it was very uncomfortable in certain moments, very awkward in certain moments, but he was very open. He said some things that I did not think he was going to say. I asked him a question. I said, who do you trust and who trusts you? You will be very surprised by the answer he gave. And he got emotional when he gave the answer. I said, do you want a pardon from the president? You know, which side do you trust more, the left or the right? You've been attacked by both sides. Which one is worse? And he was very frank and very open about it. Right before we were going live, he was doing a talk for 100 universities, some of the biggest universities, Yale being one of them, to tell them how to handle the lawsuit, how to deal with the president. He opens up and talks about that. Of course, he told a lot of stories behind the scenes with the president, and you'll see a moment, even an initiative that he's wanting to share on why he may want to go to the White House and sit down and talk to the president. This is Michael Cohen, President Trump's lawyer, wants to go and talk to the president. You're going to watch this, and I don't know how you're going to process this, but I think by the time it's over, you're going to say, this is definitely the last thing I would have thought for Michael Cohen to do on this show on PBD Podcast. With that being said, enjoy the interview. Who is Michael Cohen?
Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed. Right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right there.
I don't think I've ever said this before.
All the time. So, but if there's one thing I will tell you while the audience is watching this, they're probably surprised that you're sitting here. Like if there was anywhere you would be on a podcast right now, your audience is probably surprised you're here. And my audience is going to say,
my audience would kill me.
That's exactly what I'm saying, that you're sitting here. So, but I got a lot of questions, a lot of things I want to go through. And by the way, it's important that the audience knows nothing is off the table. You get to choose to answer whatever way you want, and I'm going to ask my questions. But something happened right before we got live. You were doing an interview that I asked you if you're comfortable sharing with the audience. So the head of Yale asked you to speak to 100 presidents of different universities. Why?
Yeah, so it's Jeffrey Sonnenfeld.
Yep.
He's the head of the Yale University Business School. I've known Jeff a while. I speak at Yale several times a year at Jeffrey's bequest. He brought in 100 university presidents, and the question that they were discussing, the topic, was how to deal with Donald Trump as it relates to being the head of a university. As we all know, Trump is right now in litigation with Harvard. When I say Trump, I'm talking about the United States of America, with Trump being, of course, the president. There's litigation against Harvard based upon a multitude of issues from DEI to gender equality in the education that they're providing. But they had, like I said, 100 individuals, and they were asking me, how do you think that we should deal with President Trump in handling this issue? Because they are right now in a very precarious situation. They do not want to lose the funding, the government funding, which Trump controls and is using as leverage.
Sure.
While simultaneously they want to keep their ability to operate the school in the manner that they deem best. And that's a problem.
What feedback did you give them?
I gave them, my recommendation is to settle. and settle early. Because if you don't, Trump doesn't stop. He will keep going. He will keep pushing the envelope farther and farther. So if he starts with, say, $100 million as a payment in exchange for removing the restrictions on the grants, my suggestion, try to water down the poison as much as you can. Maybe get it down to 50 million or 75 million. But if you don't, he and his team will continue to push it. Next thing you know, it's not 100, it's 250. And after 250, it goes to 500. And he keeps the pressure on. That's how we operated at the Trump organization. See, that's the beautiful thing about Donald Trump. Nothing changes. He's exactly the same. He operates in the same way that he operated at the Trump organization. He's running the United States. Identical.
It's as if you're already negotiating on his behalf in the first 30 seconds of our conversation.
Well, if you say so,
Yeah,
what I'm doing is I'm providing them with facts.
He's going to see this. So if he sees this, knowing him, that he may use this or he may surprise, which one do you think he'll do? Will he change his tune and say, I don't like the fact that Michael is saying I'm going to do this. I'm going to change it up. And
no chance. No chance.
What do you think he does?
I say he does the exact same thing that he's doing now. He doesn't change.
Okay.
It's very rare. He knows he has all the leverage. He knows, as he says all the time, I control the cards. And as it relates to these universities, Donald Trump controls the cards. Now, my audience will say, Michael, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you saying good things about the president? Why are you saying good things about Donald? Are you back in his camp? Are you bending the knee, right? Are you looking for something from him? The answer is no. A fact is a fact. Whether you like that fact or you don't, a fact is still a fact. Donald Trump will use whatever leverage and pressure that he can on the universities to get them to capitulate.
Okay, so what did they say? Did any of the presidents, can you say which presidents? You told me one of them, so I don't want to say publicly if you are comfortable saying it.
You know, I'd rather not, only because I don't know
but
if
it's
it's
big
going
schools.
to be put out. It's top 10. Let me say this.
Sure.
It's part of the Big Ten, and it's one of the Big Ten schools, a very respected school, and a very, very respected president. Ask me an incredible question.
Now, I have to pause here for a second. He just said something that was an outright lie, right? Yesterday, this video came out, but he said a lot of his followers who are Trump critics tend to be liberal people who hate Trump themselves. They're going to say, well, what is your ultimate goal? What do you plan to get out of this? Are you looking for anything from Trump? And he said, no, that is a lie. This man has a stain of felon on his record for whatever case that he caught years ago. And now because he's got that stain of felon on his record, there's certain restrictions he has that he can't get. So he actually does want a pardon from Trump, and he goes about it in a very indirect way to try to get it. And so he just misled you just now by saying, no, I don't want anything from Trump. You know, maybe I should call him, and here's what he could do. He can pardon a certain amount of people, you know what I mean? And this would be so great. Meanwhile, they don't ideologically see eye to eye on a lot of policy. This guy's really a Trump critic, not really a Trump ally. But he's going to try to play the part as if he is.
We're not there yet.
To settle.
Right. And I said to him, do it. Because there is no benefit to you to hold out. Ultimately, you will pay, very much like the law firms did.
Why? Because of discovery? Because of what? Because what comes
it's
out?
It's not about the discovery. It's the pressure. Again, they need the money within which to operate. They have all sorts of funding needs. Now, Harvard is taking a little bit of a different position. As we know,
yes.
Harvard has the largest endowment.
Massive. It's 60, 70, 80 billion.
Something like that. And the interest that they earn off of it annually is also massive. Technically, they really don't need the money. Doesn't mean that they don't want it.
Sure.
They just don't need it. So they have the ability, but many of the 100 schools that Jeffrey Sonnenfeld had on that live viewing, they don't have the endowments that Harvard has. not even a percentage of it. And so they need that money.
The
They
smaller
need,
ones, the smaller of the 100.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's where Trump, again, has the massive leverage. One of the things that they're interested in doing is maybe acting cumulatively as educational facilities across America within which to try to negotiate some sort of a global deal, like almost like a mass tort litigation, something like that. Once again.
You're not saying a flip class action against the White House.
No.
That would be a dumb move.
No, it would be a stupid move.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, as a group, educational, that they would come up with some sort of a global settlement with the president in terms of how they are going to operate on a, we'll call it Department of Education basis.
Got it. Well, it's a bad look for them right now. It's not been a good season.
At the end of the
them.
day, who's the winner in that fight?
Oh, Trump is.
Amen.
It's not even a question about it.
It's not. By the way, that amen by me saying will probably get me, again, canceled by many of the far left. You see, here's the problem. I've never been far left. I am probably a foot left of center. And the problem is, not only do I have, of course, the far right that despise me, I also get tremendous pushback from the far left, because I will not sit here and I will not make up stories about a man who I was very close with, as close as two people could really be who are non-familial.
Mm-hmm.
I will not make up lies within which to appease their desires. And so when I state a fact, it's a fact off of my lived experience, my knowledge, not hearsay, not innuendo, just my lived experience. And that gets me in trouble.
Oh, and it continues to, but I want to go through this. So to me, who has Michael Cohen's back today? Here's why I asked this question. Of course, in 2006, when you start working with them.
My wife and children.
Okay, but, in 2006, you're working with them from business side. Trump has your back. Then there's a falling out. You flip, FBI, time, prison.
Actually,
then,
I hate that word.
Let me just finish this, and you say whatever you want. So then you go to the left, whatever word you want to call it. You're the darling of the left. Jimmy Kimmel has you on, MSNBC, CNN, everybody has you on. Then you go to Midas Touch. And by the way, Midas Touch, their entire, they even talk about this. Their vision why they started Midas Touch in March of 2020 was to prevent the president from getting reelected. That was their entire MO, to get reelected. You have a show with them. I even think you have a show with one of the founders. If I'm not mistaken, his name is Ben. If I'm not mistaken, is that his name, Ben? Yeah. Right. So you have a show with them, and then you come out and you say the following comments. And you said you were compelled and coerced to only provide information and testimony that would satisfy the government's desire to build the case against and secure a judgment and convictions against Trump. You say this in your Substack. Not a crazy thing. This is your opinion against Letitia James and Alvin Bragg. Then we get news that Midas Touch drops. This is 10 or 12 days ago. Drops, fired, cutting away, whatever word they want to use. They fired the podcast and they move on. If you were at any other place, you're not getting fired. So your position today, who has Michael Cohen's back? I want to hear your thoughts.
My wife, my daughter, my son.
Okay.
And those people who are more centrist. I have no issue with Ben or his brothers, Brett or Jordy. We're still friends. We still speak. We're just not doing business together. And I understand the reason why they did what they did. They have a very left-leaning constituency. And so they started getting 10,000, 20,000 people telling them, if Michael Cohen remains on the network, we're unsubscribing.
Just for that comment?
Yes, sir. Just for that comment. Now, these people didn't just make that threat. They actually did it. And it was a significant amount of money. And they have, as you do, a large payroll. And so I said, I understand. I understand. And I have to be me, and you have to be you. But we're still friends. And we still will remain friends even after this. But I have friends who are on the far, far left, and I have friends who are on the far, far right. And everyone is entitled to their opinion. I prefer when you give your opinion that it's predicated off of facts, not something you pull out of your ass. I do prefer that, but everybody has the right. It's the First Amendment.
I get that, but CNN viewers probably are not fan of Scott Jennings. He didn't get fired. He got a longer contract, right?
Right.
I
saw Scott Jennings about 2 weeks ago.
He's very good at what he does. Scott Jennings, to me, I call him the CEO of CNN because he runs the show there. If without Scott, a lot of people wouldn't be watching CNN.
And on the other side, they would say that Jessica Tarlov is the COO of Fox too, as she's with Greg Gutfeld
by the way,
Jesse
great.
Waters.
What I'm saying to you is, kudos to both institutions for not firing a Michael Cohen.
Agreed.
Because to me, what's the benefit of a Michael Cohen? You're a complicated character to the average person, right? So to the left or the right, they're like, I don't know, maybe. But what do? You at least bring eyeballs, right? You're at least going to get to say, what does this guy have to say?
Well, I'm certain that your show is going to do great now.
We'll see.
People are going to be, why is Patrick having Michael Cohen? I mean, what's wrong with him? Is Patrick turning PBD podcast into a radical left, lunatic show?
Yeah, or even bigger. Am I going to go, try to hire you as a fixer?
Are you going to be? By the way, that'd be a smart move. Are you? Are you already, turning the cheek? Are you already, seeing some demise coming to this administration?
Right. No, I actually see the opposite. And here's what I see with you.
Another shameless plug. This guy really is kind of, it would be a smart move if Patrick Bet-David hired him as a fixer. Why would Patrick Bet-David want to hire somebody he can't trust that may turn on him at any given point? That's going to violate the attorney-client privilege and, divulge information that's supposed to be private. The moment it's beneficial for that person to do so. Patrick Bet-David wouldn't want that. I don't think he's gotten to where he's gotten in business by making foolish moves, and everyone with eyes can see that this guy's an opportunist who only thinks about his self-interest. And granted, there may be some fair points that he makes as to why he does certain things, but the guy's character to me does not spell out a person that you would want to have be a part of your organization, which is why he's having a hard time currying favor with friends now, either on the left or the right. When you don't really know what you stand for and you're willing to essentially compromise both sides, then no one wants anything to deal with you. So Patrick Bet-David was very politically astute in the way that he sidestepped that, right? It was a joke, but he wouldn't want anything to do with this guy.
Because to me, when I think about you, one thing you have that's very unique with you, and you probably wouldn't recommend this to the average person, but you've gone through it. So you're a guy that comes in, you saw what it's like to publicly, you say things about Trump, you're on Jimmy Kimmel, he asks you a question, who is the biggest lowlife in that community you're a part of? And you give all these names. You start off with him, his family, Weisenberg. You go through a list of names that you give.
I'm not sure that was the word that I used, but okay.
He used the word low life. He said, who is the biggest low life? And you said it starts with that. So they can play the clip to see it, but I watched the clip, I think yesterday or something like that, because I'm watching to see how you were used, okay? So you go there and you're thinking you're making the right move, and maybe you still believe that you with Trump, you said things publicly, and then it was very difficult for him for a season. And then the left comes in, and then you've been canceled now by both sides. So for you going through this position, do you sit there and say, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I should have stayed, with Trump. Maybe I should have stayed that position.
See, Patrick Bet-David just said something very important. I'm watching to see how you were used. Some people don't have what we call foresight, the ability to see, okay, if I do this, that's the cause. The effect, which is the future outcome, will be this, right? And most business people want rational people who has foresight, who's able to see what will be the consequence of this action that I'm taking today in the future. So when a guy like that says, I'm watching to see how you were used, he's saying you didn't have any foresight. you know his enemies are going to come after him, and anyone he can get on his side to betray him, they're going to do that. But his enemies don't have a loyalty to you. You were his ally. They used you to turn against him because they thought they could use your testimony, your point of view, to persuade the public that he wasn't who he portrayed himself to be. And in so doing, you played along, but you weren't successful at convincing the public what his enemies was trying to get the public to see. And now you take the position where the guy's back in office of looking stupid. You look crazy because you're the guy that used to be the guy's friend, and you turned your back on him. And now all of a sudden you're his biggest critic. And now all of a sudden you're his friend again. Who wants anything to do with that? Like, there's no self-awareness here. So when he says, I'm watching to see how you were used, it's a very, very, very good point. You were absolutely used. But a person who can be easily used is not good for anybody's organization. If you don't have foresight, if you have poor judgment, no one wants anything to do with you. Now, Patrick Bet-David is just trying to be neutral. He doesn't want this conversation to be contentious. And I really don't believe he's saying what he actually feels. Because the impression I got of Patrick Bet-David is that he's a man of principle. He's a man of integrity. He values loyalty. He wants to know his team is his team. He's not really big on rats and things of that nature. Now, he interviews a lot of different mob people that were sort of known for potentially going away or for ratting, things of that nature, just to kind of get understanding. So I think this makes for great entertainment. It's interesting. It's a good decision on his part to interview this guy. But in terms of this guy's character, in terms of this guy's appeal to, people on the right or the left, no one wants to claim him because he's not reliable for anyone. He can't reliably be a Trump ally, and he can't reliably be a Trump critic. So what is he? And there's scripture for this. The Bible says it is better to be hot or cold than it is to be lukewarm. A person who's in the middle, there's nothing you could do with that, because that means they're waiting for the opportune time to pick the side that most favors them in the moment. So their allegiance is to no one but themselves, right? So a guy like that, to me, is a hazard. It's a stay away from. It's a you go over there, don't come over here. You know what I mean? Type of person. And so the fact that he shamelessly tried to plug, well, they would be wise for you to hire me too. Why? What can you actually do for this guy? Your reputation as a man has been tarnished because all of this is happening in front of the world. The whole world saw you advocate for Trump. The whole world saw you criticize Trump and turn on him, and the whole world is trying to see you grovel back. So who is going to say, well, that's a guy I would want to be friends with? Why? Why would you want to be friends with a guy like that? Taking nothing away from the guy. He's a smart guy. He's accomplished a lot. This isn't a personal attack on the guy, other than for him to look in the mirror and really assess. But then again, I think he's doing this out of desperation. Here's a guy whose life has been shattered upside down, and I'm sure he has some legitimate reasons to feel a way about certain things playing out with Trump, but he misplayed his cards. And now in so doing, he's trying to reinvent himself. Not to say it's impossible. I just don't see how, because he's loyal to no one but himself.
Does that thought at all cross your mind?
So it's interesting you bring that up. While I was in Otisville, there was a guy, I won't mention his name because I'm sure he listens to your podcast. He knows exactly who he is. Hey, Sasha. And he turned around and he said to me, why don't you just shut up? He goes, chances are, the second you get out, or even before.
How long was this?
Well, that was within the first year that I was there.
Yep.
He goes, Trump will pardon you, and he'll probably bring you back in for all you know. You'll end up with a big contract with Fox.
Look at that. Somebody gave him good advice, which he chose not to take. Somebody told him, don't say nothing, bruh. Pick your allegiance, stand 10 toes down on it, be a person of conviction. He didn't follow that.
First of all, he goes, you're funny. You're also incredibly, knowledgeable. So he goes, you'll probably end up with like some sort of a Fox contract. And I said, no, nothing that I've said is untrue. I said, I will speak the fact, whether it's in favor of Trump or not. Now, I didn't take that advice. From a financial standpoint, probably should I have? Yes. Did I? No. Have I been canceled by both sides?
This game, you're not ready for.
Yes.
Would you do anything differently? Specifically because to me, okay, well, let me ask a question.
So let me give you the better way to sort of frame this question. What ended up pushing me into the hands of prosecutors was never my desire. It was never my goal. I never wanted the FBI to raid my home, my hotel that I was staying at, or my law office. I never wanted it.
Now, being fair to this man, which I feel like I owe him that, right? When you work with the Trump organization, which he apparently was working with for 10 years, Trump is a very polarizing figure, right? Whether you like it or not, it comes with a lot of backlash. There is a lot of people who followed Trump, supported Trump, who had to face jail time, who's been, harassed by his enemies, right? You could look at the J6 people. You could look at, a lot of people who were supposedly his friend, the Giulianis of the world, the Steve Bannons of the world who had to go to jail, right? It comes with consequences because he's not a beloved person everywhere. Now, there's some people who love him and there's a lot of people who hate him. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you make that choice ultimately as a person to follow this person or not to follow this person. This man made that choice. He decided, okay, because I've weighed all the pros and cons of being associated with this man, I'm willing to go down this path. But along the way, he decided that the cost of doing so was too much and that he didn't want to pay that cost anymore. So he made his choice. Now, he could have made his choice to disassociate himself from Trump and not become his critic, right? But he went above and beyond. Like he went to the point of like insulting the guy, like just it was a turn off for me. Not because I don't feel like he has valid points. If he feels like, there was areas in the relationship where he thought Trump would have his back and he didn't, or he didn't have his back the way he thought he should have handled certain situations, and he has real grievances. There's ways you can work those grievances out behind closed doors and still take a position of honor. This guy didn't do that. He went above and beyond. He was a little extra credit with the extent that he went to criticize Donald J. Trump. Unfortunately, he played the wrong cards. What he thought would happen didn't happen. He miscalculated it, and Trump got back into office. And now Trump is coming down with the hammer on everybody that was a critic of his, from the universities to everything. And now he's in the crosshairs. And now he's trying to mitigate and also trying to curry favor with Trump. But in the same time of doing that, he's alienating the people that are critical of Trump. And so now they don't want nothing to do with him. So he's literally in no man's land. But so what is he doing? Trying to curry favor with the person who has the perceived power, which is Donald J. Trump. So this is the first of many steps that he's taking to bridge the gap, to reconnect. But I think this is interesting for my viewers. I think this is interesting for me as a person to see how people will weasel in and out of your life whenever it's convenient for them to do so. That's like a life lesson, right? Like You have opportunistic people who really don't have your interest in mind. They're there when your spotlight is bright, and whenever they can get a little shine by being associated with you, they're glad to be a part of the team. The moment they see, oh, that spotlight is shifting away from you, they're out of there. Not only are they out of there, they're now going to criticize what it was like when they were in the spotlight with you. They're going to criticize you when you were sharing your spotlight with them. And then when the spotlight shifts back to you, they're back under them. Hey, what's up, buddy? You remember me? The good old times we had? What? Bro, what? I don't understand. To me, this is a perfect example of that. For people who aren't able to see like human behavior and like you don't see like what it looks like when a person's very conniving and deceitful and, you know, like manipulative. This is an example of that. It really bothers me because I've experienced this in my life, and I think a lot of people have. To see when somebody does things like this, it takes a different individual to be able to do this and have no shame. It would have been different if he started the interview and saying, I'd like to apologize to Donald J. Trump because I got in my feelings because I felt like he didn't have my back in a critical moment. I got in my feelings. I said and did a bunch of things that was distasteful, unloyal, and I was wrong for that as a man. But today I'm going to give clarity as to some of the things that led me to making those decisions. That would have been a totally different thing. But his tone in this interview is he's still critical of what Trump is doing with regards to ICE and a bunch of things. He's still critical of a bunch of Trump's agenda items. He still thinks his view is what Trump should incorporate. So he's not really conciliatory in that sense. And at the same time, rather than offering an apology, he's expecting one from Donald Trump. What would Trump say to me if we sat together? What? You think you try to get him put under the prison. You try to destroy his life. You completely ran away from him when it was completely in your advantage to do so. And now you think he owes you something. He owes you a pardon. He owes you an apology for the good old days you guys had. This guy is, to me, I've lost a lot of more respect for the guy than I did before. And this is not, for that. But to me, I just feel like if you're going to humble yourself, go all the way and humble yourself. If you're not going to humble yourself, don't pretend to do it. Because people with eyes to see will see that you're just trying to manipulate the situation to your advantage. And it's not a good look at all.
Why did it happen? Well, the Russia hoax. And I've always maintained that the Steele dossier was bullshit. I never went to Prague. I've never been to Prague. They claimed I had $10 million in cash in Prague to pay off Russian compromise. And so none of it is true. All 13 allegations raised against me were a lie. I went and I saw the president in the Oval Office the very first time I received a request to appear before SIPSI, the Senate Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. And I said, no. I spoke to an attorney by the name of Jay Sekulow, who I received through Sean Hannity. And he said, it's like an invitation to a wedding or a bar mitzvah or something like that. You don't have to go. I said, fine. I typed out a response, thank you, but no thank you. They then hit me with a subpoena. And I said to the president, eye to eye, same distance I'm sitting from you, the only difference wasn't a Formica desk, it was the Lincoln desk, the Resolute desk. Mm-hmm. I said to him, sir, please shut this down. Nothing good is going to come out of this. These are a bunch of animals. I'm telling you. And the advice that he got from those that were around him were, it'll be bad. the story will be bad. Today, if it was happening today in 2025, 2026, Trump would have shut it down. That I know, because he understands the power that the presidency has. But he was more concerned. He allowed them to convince him. And that's where it all started. When you're under oath, you don't want 1,001 violation. You're not going to lie under oath, unless, of course, you're a member of Congress, right? Then somehow it becomes permissible. I wasn't going to lie under oath. They asked me questions. I gave them the answer. And that's how I became the darling of the left. Because what they did is they took specific topics. And by the way, with all due respect to every single one of your listeners, yourself and everybody that's in this gigantic studio, the same thing that they did to him, the same thing they did to me, they can do to you. And that's my disdain for the system. The system, we are a country of laws, but we're not a country of justice. Depends upon who sits at the lever of power, determines who ends up getting screwed and who ends up walking.
They can do to you. Who's they?
Government,
But
the Department of Justice, the judge, the prosecutors. It's all about what they want to advance their career. You know, ask anybody who's been through the system. Here's the first line of horse shit that comes out from a prosecutor's mouth. I have a 98% conviction rate. You're not going to be part of that 2%.
This fall, thousands of Pennsylvania homeowners are switching from gas to a heat pump system. Here's why. These new all-electric
98%? Well, you must be a genius. How come you and every single prosecutor has a 98% conviction rate? And the answer? Because they control all the levers. They control the whole game.
Still?
Still. And with me, what happened? I didn't want to testify. I was subpoenaed every single time within which to testify. Had I not had to testify the first time around, none of this would have gone on. I had no desire within which to. And it's not a question. You use the word flip. It's not a question of flip. It's a question of answering questions, responding to questions.
No, you flipped, though.
It's not a flip.
Michael, you flipped.
When you
went on every single channel, you talk negatively about the president.
Only when you flip, when you get a benefit from it. What benefit have I ever received? In other words, think about the mob. Think about the mob. When they flip on their boss.
I will tell you, yeah.
Okay, what did I get?
Oh, no, what you got, you didn't get. What you wanted, you didn't get.
What did I want?
What didn't you want? You didn't want a pardon from Biden? You didn't hope that he would pardon you
by the way, with all due respect?
He said, I want to depoliticize the concept of pardoning, and then he ends up pardoning his son and
his
Fauci
family.
and his family and all the J6, committee.
Mind you, when I asked for that pardon, I was already finished and I was already off paper 6 years. So flipping, you don't do it post facto, right? I'm not asking for a post-mortem award. I wanted it early on, but that wasn't happening.
So I've sat down with actual mobsters. I've probably done more mob interviews than anybody else in the podcast world. And you talk any one of them, they'll come and talk to me. Whether it's Sammy DeBull when he got out, whether it's Michael Francis, whether it's the late Frank Collada or Philly, and I'll give you the list of every one of these guys. I'll sit down and talk. No, not at all. It's just I enjoy the movies, and so and I'm in Florida. A lot of these guys end up here, as you know, because they like
the warm weather.
They like the warm weather. Yes, they do. But flipping is.
You know why they like the warm weather? The ground is easier.
The ground is easier.
Sure, to dig up.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I like that joke. I think the right people got it faster than I got it.
Yeah.
But no, I got it. So, but
this guy's socially awkward to me. I'm glad Patrick Bet-David was able to call him out and say, listen, bro, you flipped. He thought when he changed sides on Trump, Biden was going to pardon him. Biden didn't pardon him. So then when that didn't happen, he continued to criticize Trump with the expectation that Biden's plan to keep Trump out of office was going to work. He doubled down and just went all in against Trump. And then Trump won, and the axis of power shifted back into Trump's hands. And now he's trying to curry favor to get a pardon for Trump or get back into his good graces. It's crazy.
Going back to it, when we talk about flipping, I want to qualify it and isolate this main issue. You're not one of the guys. How many total hours did you spend with the president?
Oh, my God.
Total hours.
50,000.
Okay, that's a lot of. How many people have spent 50,000 hours with them?
0.
Okay, so you're a guy.
Maybe Alan Weisselberg.
Let's say a
spent
handful.
lot, but maybe
Let's say a
I
handful.
don't think as many.
Let's say a handful. Let's say a handful. Maybe his son, family, whoever it is. Let's say a handful. Okay, so you go. You know everything. In a business sense, I'm trusting you, and you're telling the pub, I would take a bullet for this guy.
And I would have.
I think. At what age you read Art of the Deal twice? You were 15 or 16 years old? I don't know what it was. You were young.
So the Art of the Deal came out in 1987. I was a sophomore in college.
Okay. And I think you said you read it a couple times?
Twice.
So this is a guy you looked up to since you were a kid coming up.
Correct.
So you ended up working for this guy.
Yes.
You're in there.
I
don't have it prepared, but if I wanted to tell my guys in the next 6 hours to create the clips of every time you defamed him, they can come up with hundreds. Yes?
Well, I don't know about the word defamed, but I would say said extremely negative things about him.
Low life is pretty negative.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, low life is pretty negative. So it's not like I don't want to play it.
By the way, with all due respect, think about how many times she said that about me.
But there's a difference, though. Here's the difference, and I will tell you what the difference is. If in the power structures of the world, okay, especially with him, New York, you guys go by a different rule than Toledo or Mesa, Arizona, or Glendale, California. It's a different rule in New York. New York is tough in business. New York real estate is tough. So when you're playing it, you have to know in the power structure, I'm the boss, him, and you're my right-hand guy that's doing stuff for me. I expect 100% that you have my back.
And I gave it that.
I get that. But what was the moment where you were kind of like, were you hoping for a job? Were you hoping to get something that maybe you didn't get? And then was the pressure from the other side so much that maybe someone from that administration came in and said, Michael, if you do X, Y, Z, we will protect you. We will have your back. We will get you a job. You'll be taken care of. Because that's typically things that happen.
But that's
what
not
happened?
how it happened.
Okay, so what happened?
Okay. We have to break that down into things because
Go for it.
The timeline is all over, right? It's like from the year of Gimel all the way to the end of the earth in terms of the timeline you just set up.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
I received exactly what I asked President-elect Trump for. There was all this bullshit about Michael wanted to be chief of staff. That's not true. What I wanted, Mr. Trump gave to me. Personal attorney to the President of the United States of America. When I tell you I was honored with that title, I was honored he gave it to me. It was one of the few times in my life, other than when my children were born, I had tears in my eyes. Tears. It's like, thank you, sir. That's exactly what I want. I don't want to be chief of staff. How can I monetize that position as chief of staff? I don't want to live in D.C. I lived in D.C. for 4 years. Mm-hmm. My son was a senior in high school. My daughter was a senior in college. My son was a ball player, playing actually for Hank's Yanks, the high school travel baseball team for the New York Yankees. He had tryouts with the Chicago White Sox, with the Yankees, the Mets. As a young boy, I wanted to be there for every single game. And in fact, I can just tell a good story about Trump. And I've told the story many times. It's not as if I only said bad things about him. I also said some positive things.
Folks, this is gaslighting. This guy is full of crap. I'm sorry. It's hard to even sit through. This is somebody trying to kiss ass, really, because he knows he's wrong. I'm actually trying to find the clips of all the things he said. I just want to get like a little reel for everyone can see some of the critical things he was saying about Trump, calling the guy low life and all this stuff. This is supposedly someone you revere, whose friendship you valued, who you looked up to. When is it ever good to do that? Like, to make the attack so personal? You could disagree with someone on a policy or on a point or on certain matters, but to get to a point where you're calling him a low life is crazy to me.
Things about him. But you're not wrong when you say Trump was a baseball player when he was at NYMA, New York Military Academy. God. And how do I know that? By coincidence, I end up speaking to his coach, who actually also had to be like the general over there at New York Military Academy. He says, I'd love to come in and speak to Donald because the school is going to be for sale. Mm-hmm. And I'd like Donald to buy it. So keep NYMA going. He comes in, little guy, right? But rock solid and typical what you would say. He's, as Trump would say.
I'm going to pause this right here. I actually found some clips of this guy going in. This was him on Don Lemon talking crazy about Trump. Let me share this clip here. This is him.
You can still have a point of view and an opinion about this without giving anything up. Having spoken and met with him so many times, do you believe that an indictment is imminent?
I do.
Okay. And when do you think it can happen? Sooner rather than later?
Let's all hope it's sooner rather than later, because everyone needs to be held accountable. Everyone needs to be held to the same standard of the law, and that includes former presidents.
You can still have a point of view and an opinion about this without giving.
That was one clip. There's many more. There's many more clips.
You can still.
This was another clip.
So you have spent days with prosecutors. Based on all that, are you convinced that an indictment of President Trump is coming? Are you prepared for cross-examination?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I talk about, for example, I know you read it in my book, Revenge. I talk about the credibility issue that everybody wants to attack me on. They want to attack me on the 5 counts of the tax evasion or the misrepresentation to the bank.
You are a convicted liar.
No. No. Hold on a second, George. I pled guilty to the 1001 violation. But what people don't do is they don't finish the sentence. Yes, I pled guilty to lying to Congress, but I did it direction of and for the benefit of Donald J. Trump. They also failed to remember what the lie was about. It was about the number of times that I spoke to Donald about the failed real estate project in Moscow, the Trump Tower Moscow project. I stated to Congress 3 times. That's what Donald wanted. In fact, I spoke to him about it 10 times.
So you have spent days with prosecutors. Based on all that, are you convinced?
So this is the type of person we're dealing with here, folks. A guy who just is a critic. He's not an ally. He's a critic. And now he's trying to buddy up. Let's look at this other one.
You just wrote a piece, and I want to quote a bit from it. It's about what's happening, unfolding right now in Los Angeles. You say, "This isn't tough on crime. This is political theater, starring soldiers in camo and directed by a man who knows deep down that his grasp on power relies on suppressing yours." Why did you write this?
I wrote it at 4:30 this morning, by the way, which is prior to, of course, all of this crazy. But here's my take on it. Why is it that this is happening right now? What's the reason that Donald Trump put out these 2,000 National Guardsmen? It's not because he's concerned about signs. It's not concerning, remember what they had during Trump's rallies, mass deportation now, same sort of signs that we have here. It's to distract you and the rest of the media from what's going on with the fights with Elon Musk, where he was losing that fight, where 180 million people were following Elon Musk. This is just a sideshow.
This is reality TV.
Reality TV. He's the best at it.
I don't know. It seems like he's been, if it's just reality TV, it's hurting a lot of lives, and it's been doing so.
Which he doesn't care about, by the way. Which he doesn't care about. This doesn't mean anything to him. He actually wants to see people clashing with police, so in that way he can justify this action. But this is all distraction. And we know with Trump, there's 2 things that he's great at: distraction and deflection.
You also argue in this piece that he views protest criticism as treason. That's serious.
Yeah, it's treason to him. He doesn't care about anything other than you following his directives. And his directive is he needs to show the American people that when he said that he wants mass deportations, he needs his numbers. He wasn't getting the numbers. So what does he do? He creates a scenario like this. There was no reason to deploy the National Guard. Police could have handled it. They didn't need to show up in riot gear to Home Depot. All of this, again, it's theater.
You just wrote a piece. And
so this is the guy we're dealing with here, folks. Now, this is essentially, he's eyeing for a Trump pardon. This is the guy. So let's go back to the interview. So when this guy sits here, now he's got a baseball story he wants to tell you about Donald Trump. Oh, when I met the general at the military academy that he went to, he told me this baseball story. This guy, to me, it's shameless. It's like, I guess I gotta play it and let you guys see it for yourself, but it's crazy.
He was central casting. Trump goes, Michael, keep him away. Michael, keep him away from me. I said, why, boss? So he goes, he once smacked me so hard in the head. He hit me upside the head so hard. He goes, sometimes when I think about it, I still get a headache. And I was like, really? So he goes, I sure did. And so on. And he did. He goes, but I will tell you, Donald was the best baseball player. He was an incredible hand-eye coordination as a hitter and as a fielder. And I said, no kidding. Really? So he goes, yeah. So he goes, he was a great baseball player. Donald got a chance to know, of course, my children quite well, especially, my son. And he loved the fact that he was a baseball player, but not just a baseball. He was a really good baseball player. In fact, the time I was allegedly in Prague, we were in L.A., where my son had a tryout with the USC Trojans. Another time he was here at Miami, where he ended up going to school at the University of Miami. He wanted to play for the Miami Hurricanes. Didn't happen because of everything that happened. He ended up a little bit with the yips. To anybody in baseball knows what the yips is. It's where psychologically it just throws you off. It's almost like, one day you're pitching a no-hitter and the next day you can't hit the strike zone. It's a real condition. But Trump always said, even if I need you, I'm not going to bother you when you're at the game with your kid. I'm not going to take you away from that. He appreciates sports. In fact, he's actually quite knowledgeable in all sports, much, much, much more than I. And I always appreciated that from him, and there was more than just a few games. I don't have to tell you, because it's truncated into a short period, but he was always great.
So you're his right-hand guy, right-hand lawyer, and when you're at the game, he's not bothering you?
No, unless it was an emergency, and then, he was like, just when you get back, just come straight over. And sometimes that would mean come over to the apartment, or I'll meet you down in the office, or just we would spend hours on the telephone, dealing with an issue.
What part of his relationship with you, the 50,000 hours, do you miss the most?
All of it.
You miss all of it?
All of it. So I see your expression. Same expression Todd Blanche had when I was on trial, sitting in that witness box. He said, you hate Donald Trump, don't you? I said, no, sir. So he goes, what do you mean? I said, in fact, I love the guy. So he goes,
loved or love?
Love. I still love.
Present.
I'm still insanely angry with him for allowing others to interfere with the relationship. And I don't care. Look, we all know one thing about Trump. He will never apologize, even when he knows he made a mistake. He will not. It's just not in his nature. Some people can, some people can't. He cannot. But I know in his heart of hearts, he knows he made the mistake on allowing them to convince him to abandon me. You use the mob experience as sort of a way of, he's the boss, call me a capo, right? I'm a made guy in, we'll call it Trump land.
Excuse me, sir, how old were you when you made your first million?
What is this for?
We're trying to get advice for the younger generation.
I made my...
When there's an issue, when does the mob boss throw his capo under the bus, listening to some foot soldier? It never happens. You're supposed to, smartly, you wrap your arms around the guy and you protect him. Don't abandon me. They didn't just abandon me in a conversational manner. I was handling legal matters for him that ultimately resulted in the FBI raiding my home, hotel, and law office. And that's because they wanted to get him. I despise James Comey. I've always said I despise James Comey. I know that Comey ended up getting from John McCain the Steele dossier. Then it went to, I think, Andrew Weissman. From Weissman, it went to Jeffrey Berman, who recused himself. Then to another guy by the name of Robert Kazami. I mean, all for what? In order to get him. And that is just true. And I hope it's apparent to everybody. I don't care if you're far left or far right. That is and should be apparent to everyone.
So give me the exact timeline. What month was it when you say, he made the wrong decision? He sided with them instead of me. What was the timeline? Exact.
I was in the process of going through all of the documents on a review to ensure protection for him in terms of attorney-client privilege. We were doing a document review.
He's in already.
Oh, he's in already.
So what's
he's
the
president.
month? Give me a month ish.
It's
17.
It's 28. It's 2017. No, it's it's 2018.
So end of 17, early 18 ish.
Something like that.
Okay, continue. You're going through that.
We're going through that, and all of a sudden, my lawyer turns around and says, "Can you please reach out to Trump.org? We haven't gotten paid. We got paid some. They held back on the next one. They didn't pay the third bill. Now it's a fourth bill. We can't continue to represent you." I'm saying, wait. You're joking, right? So not only did they push me under the bus, but now something that I should be protected under, which is executives and officers insurance, they're not even willing to pay that. Why? What the hell did I do to deserve to be ignored, abused, neglected, thrown away, discarded? What did I do so bad? And then I turned around and I realized during a interview that they were doing with Trump, he turned around and they asked him, it was right after the raid, he goes, "It's disgusting that they raided one of my attorneys. Now all of a sudden I lost my name. Remember, I know the man better than any human being should know another. That's the first sign that you're out."
You knew that?
Yes. It was that comment that really made me pause and say, wait. Now I don't have a name? What happened to Michael? Every morning, 4:30, 5 in the morning, for over a decade, every morning at 5 a.m. and every night. The man doesn't sleep. By the way, neither do I, which is what made us even closer. Every single morning, 4:30 to 5, phone call. Every night, 11:30, give or take, a phone call. First in the morning, last before he goes to bed. And now all of a sudden, Michael Cohen doesn't exist? Tell me why. What did I do so deserving, so bad, that I deserve to be not just thrown under the bus, but how about run over, not once, not twice, but a half a dozen times? And I was like, okay, I guess I am on my own.
Okay. Now this part, I feel like I should comment on. We just learned something a little bit about his mindset going into leading into him deciding to, I guess, testify against Trump and kind of go against him. He felt like Trump betrayed him. He felt like Trump didn't stand up for him. He felt like Trump took the advice of people he barely knew over him for the sake of protecting Trump. He wanted Trump to shut down certain investigations against him when the FBI was looking for information against him. He wanted Trump to shut that down. But a lot of people don't remember, during Trump's first term, the guy didn't have support internally. Like, everyone was coming against him. He won. They said it was Russian collusion that caused him to win. So now he's under a Russian investigation. The guy got impeached twice in one term. So he's fighting his own internal battles. He's firing people left and right. He don't know who to trust. People are betraying him, leaking documents. All sorts of things are going on. So Michael Cohen was not Trump's top priority. The guy was trying to stay afloat. Remember, it's him versus the swamp. Everybody's coming against him. Republicans didn't like him because they felt like he wasn't a real Republican. Democrats didn't like him because they didn't like his conservative views on certain things or much more about him. The guy was not liked. His own staff was leaking stuff, betraying him, doing all sorts of things. The news is against him. You had all these other countries and leaders of the other countries being critical. Like, this guy was not a beloved guy, within the establishment. So the fact that this guy felt like he could have just shut anything down, it would only have a negative ramification on Trump, because they were trying to find reasons to impeach him. If he's now hindering an investigation that they believe is valid, that would have been yet another thing for them to criticize him on in the news. And so this dude's just trying to mitigate the incoming fire he's taking. And maybe he didn't do enough to shield this guy from, from turning on him. I don't know. But to me, I don't believe that Trump was out here trying to do that. He said something that to me kind of brings it all home. He says, when Trump said the FBI raided one of my attorneys, that's when he knew that was the end. The fact that Trump didn't use his name. This is like what females do. Like the little nuances, things that they get emotional about when you break up with them. I dated a girl one time, and I was hanging out with her at her place, and my buddy called me from LA, and we were talking, and he was telling me something pretty serious. And he asked me, where you at? And I said, yeah, I'm over here with one of my friends. Now, me and the girl was not official. We were, dealing with each other, but I told him I was with one of my friends. This young lady felt like so offended that I referred to her as one of my friends rather than referring to her as my girlfriend. I should have relayed to my friend that she was more than just one of my friends. She was my girl. I should say I'm with my girl, but because I said one of my friends, because we never really crossed that line, she took so much offense that it still, left a stain on our relationship and created this divide. This is a thing similarly with this guy. He took offense to the fact that Trump didn't use his name in that situation. He felt like Trump should have said in that news conference, they raided the house of Michael Cohen, my top beloved lawyer, and rather than saying one of my attorneys. This is one of the things that to him was a critical moment. And it goes to tell you how this guy processes information. It's very like girls do, really. I'm sorry. I mean, like, that offended you, bro? The fact that he didn't say your name in a conference call, in a news clip when the FBI raided you. Meanwhile, he's taking incoming fire from every which way, and you got mad because he didn't say your name as one of the ones. He was literally speaking critically against the FBI doing it, but the FBI director and those guys were all coming for Trump. Like, this dude was not absolved from the things you've experienced. He himself experienced. They raided his house. They attacked his kids. He was held to go to court. They indicted him. Like, the guy had to take a mugshot. Like, this dude went through it as well. And this guy doesn't understand that he is the head. He's the leader. So the impact on him is different than the impact on you. If you are underboss, if you are one of his capos, then there's less weight because they don't really want you. They want him. There's less weight on you, and you shouldn't take things so personal. And to me, I feel like he took things so personal. Now, that's not to say that's not a human thing to do, right? Nobody likes feeling like they were left out, especially if you felt like you was loyal to the guy for a long time. And, you're this close to the guy. Your kids are growing up together. You know each other. I can understand it from a human standpoint that he felt hurt by it. But how much stronger would it have been for him to come to Don, call him, hey, I feel hurt that you left me hanging, bro. How much stronger would it have been? How much more respect would people have had for him if he said, I am hurt that the president didn't do this, that when he had an opportunity to do it for me. And I personally asked him to do it. But my loyalty is still to my oath as his attorney. I will not violate the attorney-client privileges. I will not turn my back on a person that I believed in and looked up to, right? I will not, I'm not going to do that. So whatever comes of it, it comes of it. But this, I'm standing 10 toes down. People reward loyalty. They don't reward disloyalty. This guy was not loyal in that sense. Now, I'm sure they got a history together, and I'm not here to minimize his relationship, which are valid. This is his relationship with the people. I'm just an observer, a person who's looking at the information that is present in front of me. There might be a lot more information that could sway me one way or the other. But from what I have and what I've observed and what I've seen for myself, I don't believe that this guy is a credible friend, ally, and I don't believe that he really cares about anything more than himself. Now, self-preservation is a natural thing. We all going to try to preserve ourselves, right? In some way, somehow. And I get it. If you feel like somebody turned on you, you may want to repay the favor with that. But at some point, there's got to be some integrity along the way, right? You could disassociate yourself from Donald Trump and not become a critic of him. You can simply say, I don't have an opinion on that. That was my client. There's an attorney-client privilege. And there are some things that him and I don't agree on. We have our own differences, which him and I will handle offline. But I will not partake in the bashing of a person that I respected and looked up to. So for that reason, I don't have an opinion. I don't have a comment. I plead the fifth. I don't want to speak to that. Could have done that. And a lot more people would have respected him for it, because then he would have picked a side. But when you say, no, you turned on me, I'm going to turn on you. Now you turn on him, so you side with his enemies. Now you're, for 4 years, you're bashing the guy, trying to get him thrown in jail. This was a guy who was your boss. It's a guy you revered, you cared about, who misses your friendship, whose friendship you miss. This is a guy you cared about. You going in on him. And even as recently as him getting elected, you're being critical. I just played a few clips. There's hundreds of them out there over the span of 4+ years, right? But you're going in on the guy. You're attacking the guy at every which point you can. And then he gets power again. It doesn't play out the way you thought it was going to play out. And now you're recalculating, well, how do I get back in there? And it's so obvious to everyone what you're doing that it's almost like shameful. It's like, oh, this guy again? Like, why? Why would he do that? Now, I respect Patrick Bet-David. Obviously, he's trying to find a way to keep the peace. I think he should reconcile his relationship. Hopefully, they have a man-to-man conversation and they talk. But I think any idea that he think he could have of working with Trump again should be nixed out of his mind. Like, it should not even be something he considers. And to me, I don't feel like Trump got to where he got in life by pedestalizing people who became critics of his. I don't see how he doubles back. To me, this is like it's a nothing burger. Like, don't even waste your time, bro. Like, this is what? If Trump did that, I would lose some respect for him. If Trump, I'm sure Trump could probably forgive him. He's a good guy. He could overlook certain things. I mean, he's done that with some of his critics before. Look at the Marco Rubios, the JD Vances. The guy can work, provided that there's a business interest that Trump can find value in. Where's the value at reconnecting with a guy who you pretty much supported for 10 years? The guy had his own money, but you were paying his salary. You gave him your daughter's office. You brought him into your world, your life, your children. You intertwined him in your life. You're spending 50,000+ hours with the guy, and he turns on you, going on public television, dogging you out, calling you all sorts of crazy names, trying to get you thrown underneath the jail, talking about an indictment is inevitable, and you're prepared to testify to ensure that the indictment happens. And you think that guy is going to somehow like forget all those years you were being critical of him, when he's thinking to himself, man, I value loyalty, and this guy was not loyal to me. You think he's going to let you back in or he's going to pardon you? It's like to see. I mean, look, I could be wrong. I think it's highly unlikely, but I could be wrong. This is why I'm tuned in. This is like daytime opera. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, if I had the money to bet on this, I would not bet that Trump is going to somehow bring Michael Cohen back into his orbit of influencers and put him and reestablish him back in the position he was before. I don't see it. But he's going to try. This guy doesn't care. He's going to try.
So what's your next move when that happens? Because I got a bunch of follow-up questions, but I want to know what you do exactly after that. You see this, you know what the signs are. You're like, I don't think I'm on the inner circle anymore. I'm on the outer, if not the ousted, like I'm about to be ousted. What's your next move?
I just continue. I had no moves. It wasn't as if
Did you approach him? Did you talk to him about it? Did you see the calls declining in a major way?
I was told by people like Jay Sekulow, oh, don't worry, I'm speaking to the boss. You know, everything's going to be fine. Ultimately, I realized that Sekulow is lying to me. They then tried to send in this scumbag, Bob Costello, a lawyer who was with Rudy Giuliani. They tried to infiltrate the defense where he wanted to come in. It's really a terrible. This, by the way, would be probably an Oscar-winning movie because it's so outlandish, it's so ridiculous. Nobody would possibly believe that this is true. They would think that this is some sort of a made-up plot by some really dystopian writer. Why in the world would you do it to me, somebody who would legitimately have taken a bullet for you, except under one condition? If he's the one pulling the trigger. I couldn't do it. It was the ultimate betrayal. It was like being betrayed by a brother.
Okay, so but from there on, what I'm trying to find out is, did you approach him? Did you talk to him? How sudden was the fall of communication with him? The late night, the early calls, or was it still going on? That's still taking place.
No, that stopped.
So when is the last time you spoke to him?
The day after the raid.
The last time you spoke to him is the day after the raid?
The day after the raid.
You've never spoken to him since?
The day after the raid.
Got it. Okay. So you called him or he called you?
I called him to let him know I was raided by the FBI, which I found to be unusual. Even back then, Trump didn't fully appreciate the power of the presidency, but people still feared him because he was getting rid of people left and right. Remember how many people got shit canned from the beginning?
Yeah. Ooh, we got that reggaeton. Today, we're going to be making beats you guys send me, okay? So let's go.
Chinchi, please do my beat.
Bro, is that your homework? Yo, I see low-key cooking though. Hold on. Ooh, we got that reggaeton. Hold on, John. Let me help. I want some background vocals.
You're going to really tell me that the FBI was raiding the home, hotel, and law office of the personal attorney to the president of the United States, and nobody had the decency to tell the president that this was going to happen? Why did he allow that to happen?
Can I speculate?
You can.
Okay, so if you're in a position like that, and he has a lot of people that are in his ear, right? If you're in a position like that and there's a lot of people in his ear, and I've gone through this before, I've gone through it closely, of course, on a much smaller scale, in a business where you're like, wait a minute, who is on my side right now? That guy used to be on my side. But why are you protecting that guy now? You used to say this, now you're getting a little too cocky because we're getting so much attention. You're walking around like you run this place, and you look at me in a certain way. Don't look at me like that. You never looked at me like that before. Don't get too comfortable. And there's a certain level of expectation to maintain that energy of respect to know he's it, right? The power struggle. He's trying to learn everybody. He's trying to study everybody. As that is happening, don't you think there's a part of it where to say, okay, he's going through a season that he went into a world that he doesn't know this world yet. It's his first term. He's much better now. I mean, he knows what he's doing now with his third term, whatever you want to call it. Of course, those 4 years he was off, he learned a lot. It was actually, he has an advantage because at that fourth year of being off, everybody came and gave him so much
right,
information.
but let's
at
least acknowledge it's his second term, not his third.
For sure it is. It's a second term.
Because otherwise that would make this term unconstitutional.
No. This is a second term. But what I'm
Okay.
saying is that 4 year was a very good break of getting smarter. I think he has that competitive advantage over his peers. But don't you think while you're in that moment,
This is another one of those subtle little thing this guy does that turns me off. That little correction he just made to Patrick Bet-David. Let's acknowledge this is his second term and not his third term, because his third term there would be unconstitutional. He knows that Trump feels that he was robbed of the 2020 election. He believes there was irregularities that happened with the voting. And he holds to the position that the election was rigged and he was robbed. So really and truly, Trump feels as if this is his official second term, but technically he should have been the president from 2020 onward. So that little slight there doesn't bode well to the audience he's trying to get the attention of, which is Donald Trump. That's not going to help Trump pick up your calls when you make a little comment like that. You know that's a sensitive thing for him. Why would you even make that distinction right now? Knowing that that's a very sensitive subject matter for the guy whose favor you're trying to curry. Why? To me, I don't even see the logic. Why is it sensible for you to say that in that moment, other than to take a dig at the guy? It's just, to me, that's the awareness of understanding your audience plays a part. If you're trying to get back in the guy's good graces, don't push his buttons. Don't trigger him. Maybe steer clear of some of the controversial things. That's a sensitive point for him. But he did it anyway, which tells you this guy really kind of dislikes the dude, because you're gonna push the buttons that you know he's sensitive about. Why would you do that? If you wanted to rekindle the relationship, why would you start off by attacking a sensitive point? I don't get it.
There's a little bit of saying, and maybe he's going through a season. Let me see what he's going through. Instead of, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, that's not how it happened. You see, what you're doing is you're creating a break in a timeline. I didn't break the timeline. The people, the enablers, the sycophants that were around him are the ones who did it. He'll
Who are some of the
acknowledge
names?
it.
Who are some of the names?
Jay Sekulow.
Okay, who
In my
else?
book, Revenge, Jared Kushner, Reince Priebus, Steve Bannon. There was a whole group of them. Not, you got to cut him off. You got to cut him off. Now, Jared, that saddens me too, because we had a friendship. Ivanka, from what I understand from investigations that I used to write my book, Revenge, Ivanka was like, you can't do that to MC, her nickname for me, right? You can't do that to MC. Stop. Well, he took the advice of people who were never in his orbit before over the protection of me.
Hi, my name is Tami, and I would like to give you a few reasons why you should consider dating a young Asian lady. You can choose a potential.
And I don't think that you or even any of your listeners would turn around and say, yeah, I would have done that. I think everybody would have done it differently. In fact, I am 100% certain, not 99.5 like Ivory Soap, 100% certain today, if this happened, he would never have done what he did. Certainly not over $1 million in legal fees. Certainly not listening to the enablers that were around him over somebody who he spoke to and who he trusted every single day for more than a decade. You know, I'm interesting in a way, like insanely loyal. And I don't ask for the same, for reciprocal loyalty. I do ask for some. And when I said, and I'm going to repeat it, I said it before, and I think it's important, I would have taken a bullet for him. Someone pulled out a gun, I would have jumped in front of it.
Is anybody buying that this guy is insanely loyal? Is that the impression people are getting? That this guy is insanely loyal? Like, this stuff is a little hard to watch because when people just lie in your face and it's like, dude, there's nothing that you've demonstrated. When things got tough, you start to see the true character of people around you. Most of us have friends and acquaintances and friends and associates in our lives that are there because things are good. Things are comfortable. The Bible says a rich man has a lot of friends. Why? Because his wealth offers a convenience to the people around him. They benefit. They're eating off the fruits of his production. The moment things get tough, you start to see the true friends that you actually have, because it's no longer comfortable to be around you because things aren't as fruitful. When things got tough for Donald, I mean, I don't know what kind of problems they dealt with in business. I'm sure there was a ton of problems. But he was dealing with problems on a different front. Like, these are political problems with the United States government coming against you. The federal justice system coming at you. You can't trust your own staff. There's a lot. You're getting impeached twice. You have a family. They're getting attacked. Your organization's getting attacked. Everything's getting attacked. These are big problems, big pressure situations. And a lot of times, you know what people are made of based on how they handle those problematic moments in their life. And then you get to see who's really with you for the right reasons, who's really loyal. The loyalty is only demonstrated during storms. Only during a storm can you see who's with you or who's going to abandon you. You cannot measure somebody's loyalty in good times. You can't. It's when it's all goes to shit and you don't know what's going on. That's when you can measure loyalty. When Trump was going through what he was going through, this guy says he's loyal, but he turned on the guy. He didn't just distance himself. He didn't walk away. He turned on him. He joined the chorus of people attacking him. He has the nerve to say he's loyal. At best, I just think this guy is not self-aware. At worst, I think he's the most manipulative person. And he's so delusional that he doesn't understand how somebody with any common sense would perceive what he's doing right now.
The only time I would not, if he's the one that was pulling the trigger. And what I realized is that in this case, when it related to me, he was the one pulling the trigger. He may not have went out and purchased the gun and the ammunition. That was given to him by his enablers. But he was the one pulling the trigger because as president of the United States, he had the power to do what I told him, what I asked him. I pleaded, I begged him, just shut this shit down. Nothing good is going to come out of this. They're going to come after both of us, and we're both going to get hurt from it. And you know what? Sadly, I was correct.
Let me ask you, let's role play.
But let me go one step further. Can I go one step back even further? I wouldn't change anything.
Okay, but let's play something else out. Okay, let's play it out. You don't do what you did. Where are you at today in 26?
Broke, on the street, no wife, children hating me. That's where I was. You see, people have me all wrong. I heard all this crap, Trump made you. Shitheads, I retired at the age of 39. All right. I didn't need to work for Donald Trump. I wanted. When he offered me that job, which came out of the blue, I didn't put in an application. I was in the office. He asked me to help him with a matter that dealt with the casinos. And of course, I had done several of the legal matters for him as well prior to that. And he was like, "You happy at that sleepy old firm that you're at?" It was at one of the oldest law firms in America, Phillips Nyes. I was a partner at the firm. It's like, "Yeah, I don't really work too hard. I'm doing just fine, having a great time, great life." He's like, "Why don't you come work for me? I'll give you Ivanka's office. They just built on the 25th floor. You'd be right next to me. You'd be my personal attorney, my special counsel."
Eve to me is basically freedom. It's a giant open universe where you can do whatever you want.
I was like, a guy who I admired tremendously is offering me a job. I didn't expect it. Actually, I expected to get paid for the work that I did on Trump. I was waiting for a check. And when I asked him for the check, humorously, he turned around and goes, "You want to get fired on the first day?" I was like, "Okay." And I accepted the job. And I don't look back, nor do I look back with the NDAs and so on. I don't look back at any of that.
Yeah,
and say,
there's a difference between when you're saying shitheads, you think I wasn't making money before. There's a difference between being a lawyer for an oldest law firm and you're making good money, you got a good life, to all of a sudden you're with the guy in New York City.
No, you didn't see my point. I retired.
I know you did. So this is not a money thing, but there's a difference between, there's a lot of billionaires nobody knows.
I wasn't a billionaire. I was more than comfortable enough. I know the story of owning
30 or 40 medallions.
No, 285 yellow cabs in New York City.
Cabs or medallions?
Medallions I owned, some, right? The 40.
Right.
And then I had some in Chicago as well.
Some of these medallions at the peak was $1 million.
1.4.
Right.
I had about $60 million just in medallions in New York alone.
And then you had 280 cabs?
And we had 285 yellow cabs in New York City.
Through the wife and the family? Or this is you?
No, that was me. I was a lawyer that was working. My father-in-law had a couple of medallions. I ended up buying them from him right after 9/11.
And then you took it to a different level?
No, I was already in the industry. I started in the taxi industry December of 1995. I bought out a client when I was practicing negligence, tort, and medical malpractice.
Mm-hmm.
I bought out a client that was leaving the country. I then merged his with another client, and we built it together, me and my ex-partner, to 285 yellow cabs. Bought buildings together, properties together. In fact, bought properties in Trump World Tower. We bought a whole slew of apartments. I bought one. My parents bought one. My in-laws bought a few. My partner bought. Some friends bought. I put together a whole block.
With the intention of what? With the intention of trying to get close, or just growing your business?
That was the year 2000.
Right.
I wasn't about to go close. I valued the Trump brand for what it was, and I was getting a very good deal, price per square foot, and it was an investment. That's it. And I rented the apartment. I didn't live there. I rented it.
Two others.
Excuse me?
Two others. You rented to others.
Generally, I rented them to ambassadors and to consulates.
So
because it's right across the street from the United Nations.
06, when you guys got close, how did it happen?
So what happened is he had a a dispute with the board at that building. And Don Jr. had said, "Hey, there's a guy who I know, Michael. He has an apartment in that building, but his parents, his in-laws, his friends, there's a whole group of them. You should really speak to him. He's kind of sharp-elbowed, right? He may be the right guy for you to talk to."
Junior's telling this to Pops.
Correct.
Okay.
And I met Junior because I had just bought apartments in a different building that I had combined together for my primary residence. And that's where Don Jr., he was doing the construction.
Got it. Okay, so today, Michael, so you're saying I would have done it the same way all over again if I would have stayed the same, I would have been broke today, not married, family, all this stuff that you're talking about, that the situation wouldn't be good for you today. You believe that?
I do.
Okay, fair. So today, who today do you trust and who today trusts Michael Cohen?
My wife and my children.
Outside
my
of family.
parents.
Outside of family.
I don't know.
What do you think about that?
I hate that. You know, I do have a lot of still supporters.
Patrick Bet-David just dropped a hammer with that question. He asked him, who do you trust and who do you think still trusts you? And the dude said, I don't know. That's big. I mean, besides his wife and his family. That's big. That's huge. And that's a life lesson right there. So he walked him right into that question. Like, men do business based on their reputation. So if you have a reputation of not being trustworthy, then it's hard for anybody to do business with you because the reputation and the record shows that you're not trustworthy and you don't do good business. So people will steer clear. I mean, it's almost like how your credit works, right? You have a reputation of paying your bills on time, in full, right? And if you do, then more people give you the benefit of the doubt and they extend money to you because they know you're going to be responsible over it. But if you don't, then people don't do that. They remove that privilege. It becomes harder for you to do that until you can show and demonstrate that you can, fulfill your obligations in that way. So when Patrick Bet-David asked him that question, it really kind of exposed the fact that he hasn't played his cards right. As a person, you got to be able to find people that you can trust and that can trust you. And if you aren't sure who would say, I trust you, it's tough. I mean, this is something for a lot of self-reflection. I'm not saying this to just be critical of this man. I'm saying this for everyone, including myself, to make sure you treat people right and that you're trustworthy and that you're accountable and reliable. Make sure that that's your brand so that your brand is not one where people perceive you as someone that can't be trusted. Someone can't leave you in their house and trust that the house is going to be, in good condition, or you're not going to take something. That's a problem. Or someone can't, take you around their boss or around their girl without them assuming that you're going to make a pass at their girl or you're going to try to undercut the person. That's a problem. You tell an idea to a friend, then the friend, you can't trust the friend is going to honor your confidentiality and protect your idea. Instead, they're going to try to steal the idea and then try to undercut you. That's a problem. So making sure that you pay attention to that question of who can trust you, that is a direct result of how you treat people, what you've conveyed to them over the course of your relationship. That's something specific to that, and to say, I don't know, says, I don't know that I've treated people in a way that they would be left with the impression that I can be trusted. To me, that's like a self-admission that maybe I misplayed my cards. And a lot of us can learn from that. This is not just to attack him, as I said. A lot of us can learn, from that whole thing that, sometimes you got to be accountable.
A lot. On my various different social media platforms, as I told you. And really what brought us together for this conversation is there's an entire left-wing ecosystem, maniacs, that are trying to cancel me. And I probably, on my YouTube channel or my Substack, I probably lost, I don't know, somewhere between 7 to 10% of my subscribers.
From making those comments?
Yes, from that one comment of feeling coerced and pressured.
These are lunatics that are saying that canceled you.
Correct.
I mean, Midas Touch canceled you as well.
I don't know if I would say that. Yes, I will acknowledge that. Yes, they did.
Okay. So for you, when I'm asking,
cancel me business-wise, not personally.
That's even that's saying we don't want you representing our brand, and I don't want to talk to you anymore, right?
No, we still speak.
Live on a show. On a show,
correct?
Right, on a show. Okay. So, but who trusts you today, and who do you trust today outside of family? You said you have supporters. I'm not saying supporters. I'm saying trust. Who trusts Michael, and who does Michael trust today?
If you can't quit the P word, I want to let you know that Scripture tells us that successful men.
I don't think there's anyone.
How do you feel about that?
Terrible, sad. I have emotions. I'm not a stone. I actually have I'm much more sensitive than people think. And it is sad, right?
Oh,
because at one point in time, I had the guy. Trust me emphatically. And I'll tell you something. It's that kind of a statement that he trusted me emphatically that these left-wing lunatics, these maniacs, these canceling animals are trying to use. Michael, you must know every single thing about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. What's pissing them off about that? What's pissing them off about the fact that I turned around and said, let me be crystal clear. I came into Trump's orbit in 2006, full time. 2007, March of 2007 was really my starting date. During the 10 years, from 2011 years, 2007 to 2018, I must have been in his office. I don't know. I maybe shouldn't even have had an office. I just should have had that far right chair, the one with the red velvet on it, right? That was my chair. And it's almost like I felt sometimes that I never left that chair. During those 11 years, I never once heard Donald Trump talking to Jeffrey Epstein on the phone. I never once saw Jeffrey Epstein in that office. I never spoke to Jeffrey Epstein personally. I never engaged in emails, text messages, any communication, in fact, I only live like 12 blocks away from Jeffrey Epstein. All right? He lives on, well, that doesn't matter, but I live about 12 blocks away from him.
That Lex Wexner house, the $77 million out of 52,000 square feet.
Yeah, that he got for a
gift, as a gift.
$1.
Yeah.
Right.
For whatever reason. No one knows yet.
I live 12 blocks away from him. I'm not even sure if I was ever in the same restaurant as Jeffrey Epstein. Never had any communication with him at all. And because I turn around and I say that during the 11 plus 12 years that I was literally living inside Trump's office, I never once had any dealings where Trump was in communication or talked about Jeffrey Epstein. However, there is one case that came across my desk. As Trump's special counsel, I receive an envelope, and in it is a Jane Doe case against Donald Trump. Jane Doe makes the allegation that she was a child and that she was raped by Donald. Well, it's obviously concerning to me as I read through the complaint. It's Jane Doe buying through her mother and natural guardian, Mary Jane Doe. It's a little bit odd that you have the mother still in there, because if in fact that there's any truth to it, why do you need a natural guardian? You're clearly over the age of 18, within which nothing really made sense in that case to me. But I don't keep secrets from the president when something like this comes about. And so I walk over, I knock on the door. Hey, boss, can I come in? I said, I just got this crazy ass suit, or this notice of lawsuit. They call that a naked summons. What do you know about it? So he goes, Michael, it's complete and total bullshit. I said, okay. So he goes, he just handled it. And we had obviously many other things going on at the time. He was running a campaign. I said, sure. So I reach out to some folks who I know. We send an investigator to the alleged address of this Mary Jane Doe, and it's a vacant parking lot. Why are you looking at me confused? Because that's the same look that I had. How's that possible?
Did you say vacant parking lot?
Vacant parking lot. Like a piece of dirt,
land.
Right. So I reach out to the lawyers, and I just start engaging them in conversation. And I don't know what made me ask. It was just a gut feeling. Sometimes you get them, and if they turn out to be the right ones. Have you ever met your client? He says, no. I said, what are you talking about? So I said, how'd you get the case? It was through the mail. He says, it's possible that maybe it's not real. You think that's possible? Because the address that's included in here is a vacant parking lot. So he goes, give me some time. I'm going to call you back. And they ultimately walked away from the case.
Did we find out who it was that sent that to him?
No. There was somebody that played them and sent in this case. Okay. All of a sudden, this left-wing ecosphere, these maniacs, they're now equating, for whatever the reason it may be, that this Jane Doe is someone by the name of Katie Johnson. And Katie Johnson is a real person. But I've never worked on the case of Katie Johnson. I've never looked at the file. I don't know anything about this file. That's being handled by somebody else. It's being handled by Alan Garten, who's general counsel at the Trump Organization. I have no knowledge of it. In fact, my understanding is that Lisa Bloom, daughter of Gloria Allred, was the lawyer for Katie Johnson. Now, that case was abandoned or it was dismissed. Okay, fine. What does that have to do with me? What does it have to do with the fact that there was a case that the attorneys walked away from because it was not a legitimate case? Why is all of a sudden this Jane Doe, Katie Johnson, they're not the same. Lisa Bloom, I believe, acknowledged that. They're not the same people. And it doesn't make any sense either that they would be the same person. Why would there be two cases? So you're saying that Michael Cohen threatened this Jane Doe, and so they abandoned it. And I need to try to figure out on a timeline whether that allegation is before the Katie Johnson case was filed or after. Were they going on simultaneously? Patrick, none of this makes any sense at all. And again, how much easier would it be for me just to say, oh yeah, I threatened this Jane Doe's lawyer and so on, and they managed to dismiss it, right? Pump myself up, like a boss, right? Like a capo. It's not true. It's not what happened. The lawyers walked away from it because it wasn't a legitimate case. Plain and simple. And because I refused to take that opportunity within which to beat up on the president, now all of a sudden, once again, Michael's a bad guy. He's bending the knee for Trump. He's asking for pardons. He's asking for something. He wants back into the fold. Hey, Michael Cohen here. Look, you all know who I am. Donald Trump's former personal attorney and fixer. A lot of things have taken place over the years. A lot of questions need to be answered. Well, you may have a lot of questions. So do me a favor. Anytime you want to ask me a question, feel free to reach out to me on Connect.
Do you think you care too much of what people think?
I think everybody cares.
No, but there's difference. No, I think there's a limit. And to me, I learned a long time ago, like one of the things I put in my business plan is knowing who I cares about what I think, and what I'm saying, and who I could care less about. And in life, if you're not too careful, if you care too much about the noise creators, what they think about you, you're going to be held hostage by them. You'll make some dumb decisions.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I think what it does
Tell me
is
more.
I think it sharpens me. It doesn't make me make dumb decisions. It makes me more cautious.
Sensitive decisions.
It's okay to be sensitive, but it doesn't mean that they're reckless decisions. I am receiving DMs on a daily basis.
Sure.
It's almost like, I was on Charlemagne the God once on Comedy Central, and I was doing the mean tweets, right? I can't begin to tell you the number of some of the vilest comments being made, all about something that is absolutely 100% untrue. Just because you want to believe something doesn't make it factually accurate.
Sure.
All right? Imagine if your subscribers, if your followers, people who have been loyal to Patrick, right? They think that you walk on water. Now all of a sudden, writing you some of the vilest shit that you could possibly imagine because there are people spreading lies about you. And then all of a sudden, that lie gets metastasized into the next person who's using that lie to build subscribers and profiting from it off of your back. But by the way, it doesn't stop there. It's like that Breck's hair commercial. But wait, there's more. And then so on and so on and so on. And next thing you know, there's like 10, 12, 14, 16 people, all of whom are attacking you 24/7.
Right.
We're talking about two individuals that died in Minneapolis. We're talking about Trump's capturing of Maduro. We're talking about Greenland. We're talking about a multitude of issues far bigger, far greater, far more important than Michael Cohen. And yet, not with these folks, because Michael Cohen makes them money.
Yeah, I mean, that's the business. You ever read the Rules for Radicals? You know, the 13 rules. Okay, so I mean, that's a business model. That's how a lot of media companies are built off of, right? And they know how to destroy your life if they want to. But I want to go back to that question. When I said, who do you trust and who trusts you, right? And I said, outside of family, and you said you don't know, you want to support us, and you kind of went through how emotional and tough it is to be in a place like that. When I said, how do you feel about it? Because I think as a man, you know, there are a few people who, as a man, for your identity, not everybody will understand this, that you want them to look at you in a certain way. It's how your wife looks at you. It's how your kids look at you. Boys a different look than daughters. It's how your enemies look at you. It's a look you want from your enemies. It's how your peers look at you. It's how your boss, investors look at you. Those each individually are very important.
So then let me then go back to your question.
Please.
I still have my oldest and closest friends. They have never shied away from me. Not when I was with Trump, not when I was against Trump, not when I was with Midas, not when I'm no longer with Midas. My friends are my friends. They know the true essence. They know
that's
me.
Important.
I mean, I have friends since, you know, the age of 10. I mean, you know, you're talking about almost 50 years, right? Whereas close today as we were when we were stupid kids riding our bicycles. I've gone through, like everybody in life, I've had friends who have done incredibly well. And I have friends who unfortunately passed away from various different things, from whether it's cancer to drug overdose. You know, I miss them as well, right? Because they would be here for me right now. But I still have so many of my college friends, my law school friends, even friends from when I was in Otisville, I still speak to. And they don't walk away. So I do have that support.
Respect to those guys, by the way.
Big time.
Major respect
Big
to those
time.
guys.
I tell that to them all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell that to them all the time. But I'm there for them as well. You know, they have moments in their lives too where things are great. And then, like everything,
there's a fall.
Right. The ED medication is wearing off.
That is so funny. Who do you think is more loyal? Of all the people you've done business with, who do you think is more loyal to his people? Donald Trump or anybody else you ever met?
Well, okay. That's a loaded question for me because he's the only person I ever worked for in my life, other than the very first lawyer who I worked in the law firm. As I told you, I did tort litigation and medical malpractice. Other than him, I've worked for myself. I had people working for me.
You've been around a lot of people. You've been around a lot of people. And you're a guy. You're also a tough guy. You're not. You're in New York, so you don't become taxi industry medallions. That's a mob.
No, it's not.
I don't mean mob like gangsters mob. It's not what I mean. It's a tough business.
Sure.
It's not like you can't be in that and be a lightweight making it. It's, especially in New York. Those things are very, very valuable. I think the second biggest city I would put for that would probably be Vegas, and it's not even close
it's not.
to
It's Chicago.
It's
it
okay,
was Chicago,
right? So
and then Boston, Philadelphia.
So meaning, if you're in that space, you better be tough, or else you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
So you met a lot of guys. You met a lot of people, and you look at them and say, okay, all right. Now, 2026, looking at Trump, his approval rating amongst Republicans, super high, right? Super high, 94, 92, whatever the number.
Well, it's dropped down a little bit. I think it's 92%.
92%,
It used to be 96.
Yeah, it's insane. But even to say, if you're in the 70s, you're good. You're in the 80s, you're good. He's 92, 96. And then you're seeing.
By the way, you're going to get me canceled again for making a comment. Yeah, that amongst Republicans. And the funny thing is, then I'll go and I'll show them a statistic, and I'll say, but that's not me. That's the Ipsos poll that's showing it. F you, Michael. Right? You're back trying to appease Donald Trump. It's incredible. I almost can't say anything that is flattering to him.
It's not going to stop, though.
No, it won't stop me.
It's not going to stop. But it's about, what are you solving for? So let me go back to it. 2026. J.D. Vance said stuff. I'm a never Trumper 10 years ago, whatever it was. When
No,
he's
he
doing
called
the
him
interview.
America's Hitler.
He did, but he said, I'm a never Trumper. Like, I'm never, when say never Trumper is like, I'm never doing anything with him. He's the VP, right? Rubio going back and forth, right? Ted Cruz inside working with him, right?
Called him a sniveling coward.
A lot of things. But the point is, he's also a guy that, hey, you come and you give respect. You're back in a circle. Let's do business together. Let's move on. And there is that side of him. And some people don't have that at all. There are people, you cross them once, you ain't never getting it. That's not him.
No.
So he does have a side that's, I don't know if I want to say forgiving. I don't know if I want to say, his closest guy right now is probably Marco Rubio. I mean, do you?
No, I wouldn't
one
say
of the
it's Marco.
closest guy. He's
Okay,
one
I'll
of the
grant you
closest guy.
that. I still think one of his closest is probably Steve Witkoff. There's a history that goes back.
Okay.
I have a history with Steve Witkoff outside of Trump.
Real estate, another guy.
And our children are all friends.
Wow.
And so I mean, yeah.
Are you still good with Steve, or do you?
If I saw him, sure. Howard Lutnick, I know Howard longer than I know Trump. My daughter and his son went to nursery school together. It's 25 years I know Howard. All right? 25 years. I saw him after Trump became president. Came over, gave me a hug, the whole bit, gave me a kiss, hello, how are you? The whole bit. I have no problem with him or Allison, his wife.
Why
or
are
any of
they
his
so
kids.
loyal to him?
What's that?
Why are they so loyal to him?
Well, there's many different reasons. One, they believe in what Trump's agenda is. And two, it's probably very financially lucrative, for all of them to be in the inner circle.
Okay, so fair to say that. Now, but going back to it, with Trump, 2026, how important would you say, like if you were to say one of the most loyal guys I've met to his people is Trump, where would you rank him?
One of the most loyal?
To his people that are loyal to him.
Let's say out of 10 people.
You met a lot of guys. Where would you rank him?
Probably towards the top.
Towards the top.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Would you have said that in 2020, 2021?
Absolutely. By the way, if you look at my testimony that when I was on the stand, and again, I did not volunteer to be on that stand. I was subpoenaed. By the way, would I have done the 60, 90 days like Peter Navarro or like Alan Weisselberg had I had somebody in my camp? Hell yeah. Certainly it's a lot better than the 6 years that I got from that idiot judge, right? Off of what? Off of doing an NDA, right? I mean, that's really what it was about an NDA, about the Russia hoax. Had I had even just a shred of loyalty thrown back to me, some care, some knowledge that, let's protect Michael. Let's put our arms around him. It's what a mob boss would do. Don't take the guy and then just say, oh, yeah, point over there. Hey, no. Look at him. Don't look at me. Stop looking at me. Look at him over there. No, that's not right. That's not. I would never have testified. I didn't want to. In fact, when I said I felt pressured and coerced, I felt coerced. I was under subpoena. I felt pressured. I didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to. It's my personal feelings. And I'm entitled to them.
Absolutely you are. So if these guys who were in Trump's ears, let's just say that they, turned you against him.
No, the other way around.
Turned him against you, whatever it may be. And let's just say you know that for a fact.
I do.
Okay, fair.
This guy just said something that I think needs to have some sort of commentary. He said, had Trump decided to put his arms around him, that's what a mob boss would do. Again, not being conscious of the situation. This is another blunder on his part. Why are you associating the president of the United States with a mob boss? A mob boss runs a criminal syndicate. Trump is not a mob boss. He's a businessman. And you're talking about him as if he ran his operations like a mob boss, which is essentially the narrative that was being used to stain his character in the first place. This guy sees that Trump somehow, as a mob boss, should have taken certain measures to his own detriment to protect him. But probably had Trump taken those measures to protect him, it would have given his enemies what they needed to get him impeached, to get him thrown out of there, for him to lose everything. He just thinks about it from his point of view, and he's not thinking about it on a macro level. And the mere fact that he's referring to Trump as if he's a mob boss, to me, shows a lack of self-awareness. Trump knows how to maneuver with different types of people, but he's not a mob boss. He's not associated with a mob. I mean, if he was, he'd be under the prison already, because they certainly was looking for anything to pin on him to destroy his life. And for whatever it is, they couldn't find nothing. And then they had to fabricate stories and things of that nature to at least try to stick to him, but they weren't successful at it. So the mere fact that this guy's referring to him as a mob boss, again, I feel like he's not mindful of what he's saying, and he's not sure who his audience is. The guy's going to see this. He's going to think, oh, this dude thinks I'm a mob boss? Like, can you imagine? No one's going to trust him.
If you know that for a fact, don't you think time's going to be on your side? Don't you think within time he's going to realize what happened?
My hope?
No, but what I'm saying is, even in that moment to say, dude, this guy, I have 100% of his back. Don't you think, and I want to finish this and then we can move on to the next topic.
No, because I have a response for this. That's going to blow you away.
So what I'm saying is, in that moment, you're like, what is he doing? Patient, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. Then he sees the guys that did this. Then he sees how they did. And then he sits there and says, but that Michael guy never flipped. But that Michael guy never threw me under the bus. But that Michael guy, you know what? Call Michael. Don't you think time would have strengthened the relationship?
Who has that time? All right. When this is happening to you in real time, you're thinking post-fact. And I agree with you. Post-fact probably would have been better.
That's what makes it tough, though. That's what makes it hard.
No, not what makes it tough. It makes it impossible. Because you're living in a world.
Yeah.
I can assure you, this has never happened to you. In fact, it's probably never happened to any of your listeners either. You can't imagine what it feels like. It's not an anvil dropping out like in the Roadrunner from the sky and squashing you into
You chose that job, though. That comes with the territory. It's not an easy job.
What job are you referring to?
Don't choose to go into the administration.
I didn't go into the administration.
Don't choose to stay supporting when he's at that level. I mean, this is the most targeted man in politics in our lifetime.
Though it wasn't anything that we had done while he was in office. This was everything pre. None of it was political. This was all pre.
I understand.
My point is, so what was I looking for? What was I hoping for? I was hoping that the man who I revered, man who I had worked for, had blasts with. We used to travel together, laugh. I don't see Trump laughing anymore. I don't see him smiling. I don't see him having a good time.
I think he's having a time of his life.
No, he's not. He's not. He's not laughing.
This is what ex-girlfriends say about their exes. They feel like there's no way you could be living a better life without me in it.
Together, he used to enjoy everything. He used to smile more. He used to laugh more. That I assure you.
When we were together, this is a grown man talking about another grown man. When we were together, he used to laugh more, smile more. What? What? What am I seeing? This is like a scorned ex. It's crazy. But this is sort of the start of him trying to manipulate the situation so that Donald Trump can remember the old years. That's not to say these guys didn't have fun together as friends and as colleagues and as, co-workers. He was part of Trump's staff. That's not to say you don't bond with somebody over the time. I'm not diminishing that. I'm simply saying, you saying the guy doesn't smile anymore because you're not a part of his life, almost as if to say he's not as happy without you around. Really? You really believe that, buddy? Trump's over here dancing. He's living his best life. He beat the cases against him. He's the most revered man in the world, very powerful. Won the popular vote, or won over 78 million votes. The guy got, so much influence in his party. He's 92% approval rating. Like, this is far different from how life used to be in his first term. And you're telling me you don't think he's happy? He doesn't come across as a happy person?
There was a moment when Trump had become president-elect, and I had said, I don't want to go into D.C. I'll be there every day for you if that's what you want. I'm going to be back in the city. You want me to bring you like a potato knish from Katz's Deli? You want a dirty water dog? Whatever you want. I'll get onto a train. I'll get into the car. I'll drive up. I don't care. Whatever you need, I'll be there. But I want to be personal attorney to the president. And I remember him turning around after he decided that Reince Priebus was going to be his chief of staff.
Mm-hmm.
He says to Reince, what role is Michael playing? Because at first he didn't want me to be on the outside. Trump likes familiarity. And he had no familiarity there. Reince Priebus was loading the place up with his people because he thought that he was going to be able to make Trump into a puppet president. And Trump likes
Boy, he was wrong.
Oh, wrong?
Yeah.
Damn straight. That's why he got shit canned so fast.
Yeah.
Trump likes familiarity. Unfortunately, he did allow me the job that I wanted. And
Maybe it was a test. Maybe he was testing you.
Could be. But he said to Reince, find Michael the right position. In fact, he wanted me to be assistant deputy counsel.
Yeah.
Under... what was his name? The lawyer. I visualize him. He was from the big Dwayne law firm. Anyway, no, thank you, sir. I actually have some other ideas and ways that I would be able to protect you on the outside from all of this nonsense that we all know is going to come. He said to Reince, let me be clear. You find Michael a job. This is his words, not mine. Because the only reason you're in that spot is because of him. I know you 10 seconds. I know him 10 years. Those are Trump's words. That was the loyalty about me. That was the loyalty I expected. You're going to listen to Reince Priebus, who was dubbed in the office Rancid Penis? I mean, who the hell is listening to Reince Priebus? He did. And to whose detriment? Mine. By the way, my hope is that the president is actually listening to this podcast. Turns around and says, you know what? Yeah, I missed the guy too. Give me a call. He still has my cell number. It actually was once, a Trump number.
You know, he's the type of guy that would call.
And I would take it.
Have you tried?
And I would take it.
Have you tried calling him?
I can't do that.
Why?
It can't.
Why?
Because maybe I will.
He knows you can't call that man's phone. You know it. You know you can't call that man's phone. For 4 years, you dog him out, and you think you're going to call his phone and it's going to be well received? Come on, man. Come on.
Maybe I will.
Can I tell you why?
I'm not 100% certain I know what I would even say at this point.
I think neither one of you guys. It's just going to be the conversation. You'll know within the first 2 seconds.
You're probably
how that
right
call
about
goes.
that.
You don't know until you make the call. But to me...
You know what was also, by the way, not to interrupt you, you know what else also surprised me? My relationship with the kids, especially Don, and then Ivanka, and Eric as well. I mean, I sat on Eric's board. I got canceled a long time ago for saying that too. Eric Trump was stealing money from the charity for St. Jude's Children. I sat on that board. He didn't steal money from anybody. Okay, let me be crystal clear. Eric did not. Don, I saved Don in countless scenarios. Ivanka, incredibly close with her as well.
Till today?
No.
Okay.
And when I see her sometimes in the city, she turns around, looks the other way, and it kills me. That's the same.
That's the look I'm talking about.
That's the same person who came to my apartment and I cooked my famous world-class lasagna for. And we were fighting on the floor like siblings for the last piece, even though I'm the one who made it, because she wanted me to wrap it for her for work the next day. That's how much and how significant a relationship that we had, all of us. And then not one of them to reach out, to turn around to say, I'm not going to let Dad do this to you. You know, I'll tell you an interesting story.
So he wants Trump's kids to choose him over their own father. That in his mind would make sense. Trump's kids should say to their father, Dad, you can't treat this guy like this. What? He wants Trump's kids to be more loyal to him than they are to protecting their father. This is a guy that's not wired right. Like, he's delusional. He's lost it. He's totally cooked. Of course your kids should defend you. That's one of the things I commend about Trump's kids. They all stand 10 toes down with him. He had to go to court. They were going to court. You know, it's their family versus everybody else. They're all one unit. There's never no dissension. Everybody's on the same page. You know, it's us against them, against the world. That's how they see it. That's how they move. I respect that so much. But this guy feels in his thinking that he's disappointed because the kids didn't do enough to rebuke their father for not choosing to side with him, when he's the one that was trying to get their father thrown underneath the jail. It's crazy work. I don't even understand.
I was sitting in my office, Ivanka's old office, on the 26th floor, and Dawn, Ivanka, and Eric walk in. It was right after the launch, right after the very famous escalator scenario where he made comments about Mexico and Mexicans, maybe 2 days or so after that, 3 days. And they turned around and they said to me, you need to get Dad to stop, to withdraw. He can't run for the presidency. Donald's sister, Judge Barry, called me and said, Michael, what the hell are you doing? I turned around and said, Your Honor, you're about the only one that Donald actually has any fear of. And he did. He was his sister petrified him, you know, not in the.
Of course, I get it.
Right, in a familial
in this
way.
similar like the
Yes.
baseball coach guy.
Damn straight.
Right.
They asked me to go speak to Dad and get him to withdraw. I said, no chance. He's never going to withdraw. You know it. If you know, like, thanks to you. So their words, not mine. And if they want to be honest about it, they'll acknowledge it. Thanks to you, the legacy that we're going to be left won't be the Trump organization. It'll be the Rump organization. I said, don't be so certain. Meanwhile, they're all kicking ass right now. All right? Thanks to the Rump organization. Not one of them had the decency to pick up a phone and call.
So what we just gathered from that story is that because Trump's own kids went to him to dissuade Trump from running for office, and because he didn't do what the kids were suggesting, they're kicking ass. This guy's lost it. I mean, he's not there.
My daughter and Tiffany, as an example,
I'm not surprised though,
have been friends since they were in their early teens. Went to college together.
Are you surprised?
I am.
Why are you surprised?
Because I would. Because I would make
you're
that
not
call.
Trump. You're not Trump.
I never
Michael.
said I was, though.
No. That's why you would make the call. Because, you know, I'm not surprised at all.
That the kids did.
I'm not surprised at all.
Okay.
I'm not, in my opinion, I could be wrong, and people have their own right to write the comment and saying you're so this. Totally get it. My opinion is I'm not surprised, because that's the part. It's why phrases like ride or die. It's that phrase. It's that part where, hey, you know, it totally understand the relationship and all this stuff. You cross the line with my dad, you're my enemy. It's a, you know,
did I cross the line with him, or did they cross the line with me?
it doesn't matter.
You're right, by the way.
But
you got to always stand by your family.
But the part with
it doesn't mean it's not going to hurt.
No, you have the right to. I totally, and I feel this since
the guy's not. He's I don't understand. What I'm observing, I'm not seeing a person who's like connected to reality. Like you think his family should have sided with you in turning against their father because you make such a good lasagna that you guys would fight over the last piece, and that you were disappointed that the kids didn't rebuke their father for you when you were the one trying to get their father in trouble? That's crazy to me.
Sincerity, I totally feel the relationship makes me want to try that lasagna.
By the way,
the guy that is a lasagna guy,
freaking
that
class.
good? Don't BS me, because I actually like lasagna.
I'll show you a photo.
All right, okay. So maybe we got to test that out.
He's gonna show him a photo of the lasagna. That's how good the lasagna looks. Patrick Bet-David be taking low. He's like, what a lasagna you make that would make people's own children disassociate and disconnect from them to stand up for you in a conflict between you and their father. Whatever this lasagna is, I need a piece, because this type of lasagna that's got that type of effect, it's got to be the greatest lasagna of all time. Because if your lasagna could make somebody's own biological children decide to side with you, who's trying to take their father down, against their own father, then I got to try a piece of this lasagna, because this has got to be the greatest lasagna that ever existed in life. There's never been a lasagna like this, ever. What? This guy's lost it. He's lost it. You think you... I don't even have the words.
Out here and see how it works out.
Why, do you have a kitchen in the studio?
We're down the street. We'll go cook it and get a feel for it. But going back to it to me is, you know, a leader, okay? A leader, a coach, a politician, a military leader. When do you think they stop testing their generals?
Never.
That's the point. That's the point.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't say it the right way. That would be a never for 1,000.
Never for 1,000. But what do you think it is for Trump? Even
million.
more, right? Yeah. Okay. So to me,
wow.
But you see, as the president.
Yeah.
So you see, the point that Patrick was trying to make there is that a general, when he's testing his leaders, is trying to see if the leaders are still loyal to them. So they're constantly testing to see, are you still taking my orders, or are you kind of doing your own thing? Or are you trying to usurp me? Or, you know, are you trying to undermine me? Such a great question. So on point. You know, life is full of tests, folks. You know, you're going to be in situations where, whether it's a relationship you're testing, or you're testing a friendship or business partnership, you have to always constantly test to see if people's loyalties are still with you. Just because they were loyal to you yesterday, don't mean they'll be loyal to you today. And those things do need to be tested. And this guy failed the test. And that's his point. No matter what's going on, if you're with a side, you're with that side. And you got to be willing to stand 10 toes down with it. It's a great, great point.
Yeah.
The way I see it, he's the most powerful man on the planet.
Sure.
And the most powerful man on the planet should fear nothing and nobody.
Oh, that's not how life works, though. No way.
Okay.
The most powerful man in the planet has the most enemies targeting him to destroy him. So there's a layer where you go to sleep and you're around your friends and family, you're breaking bread.
So then where do I sit? So where do I sit in the living room? Do I sit, you know, as I used to, in the seat next to him, as I used to? Or now do I sit in the bathroom in the back with mush, right? Stop looking at the dice. Remember
That's
that
your
from Bronx
choice.
Tale?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Chaz is a friend.
This tells you exactly what you need to know about this guy, man. It's about his position. It's about me. He wants the spotlight that Trump has. It's about, where do I sit? Where do I fit into the whole thing? What's my place in the administration? What influence do I have? Why are you taking other people's opinions and suggestions above mine? Where am I? What about me? What about me? You're not having fun with them. Remember the fun we had? You're only really happy when you're with me. I have to be the center of your world. Or else you can't have a worthwhile life without me. It's about him. Where do I sit? The guy is telling on himself. Somehow, some way, he wasn't Trump's favorite anymore because Trump evolved from more than just a New York City businessman to potentially the potential president of the United States, to the eventual president of the United States. And now there's all these new people circling the ship, trying to influence him, you know, because they have expertise that's different than his. And Trump has these advisors, and their voices are weighing in more than his. And now he gets jealous and probably starts to throw a fit, gets emotional. So Trump distances himself from him. And in true form, he turns on him because he felt like, you forgot all about me, as if he brought him to the party. And now, after he had his emotional rants, he wants to come back. He wants to sit back at the table. Even though he was trying to get you all the way jammed up, he wants to sit back at the table. There's life lessons in all this stuff. I mean, I try, you know, I'm not a political pundit. I'm just, you know, a guy who's interested in politics. You know, I pay attention to some of this stuff. Obviously, I'm in business. I try to make sure that I can read the signs of the time to make good business moves. And there's so many life lessons that you can extract by watching the dynamics in politics, maneuvering, being diplomatic, being persuasive, but also understanding plays, tactics, strategies, right? And those can be applied in other areas, in other sectors, right? There's cross functional skills that you can learn from this. And so what I'm learning, these are all human skills that can be applied in business and personal life and relationships and elsewhere. You can't be so self-centered, and you can't have people around you who's got the what about me mentality. Because if they were around you as part of your entourage, it's us. Whatever Trump did to benefit Trump, the trickle effect will ultimately benefit this man. Because you work for Trump. You're part of the organization. You're part of his core group of people. The moment it becomes about you, then it's not about him, which means now you're shifting the axis of power. You don't make that organization run, but he does. He's critical to that organization and you're not. You can actually see this in an unrelated case for those people who's into pop culture. Jay-Z and Dame Dash. It's a similar thing. Jay-Z was the talent, and all the blessings was a result of that talent. He had other business people around him that was leveraging his talent to bring deals to the table. And then eventually, for Dame Dash, he got bigger than the main event. He started to want to call the shots. It started becoming about him. He's making business moves. He's now making it about him as if he was the talent. And the moment the talent was up in arms with the antics, he decided, I'm going to disassociate myself from this person, and I'm going to associate myself with people who don't need it to be about them. They're okay playing the background while I remain the talent, and we're all going to make a lot more money. And the dude probably 10x'd his net worth once he disconnected. So the lesson in this is, don't be the guy that makes it about me. If you're the main event, then you have to lead. But if you're a role player on a team, then you got to play your role. It can't be about what about me? What am I doing? Now, I'm sure in my past, I may have had a seat on both sides of the fence. Right? There's sometimes you got to be an apprentice. You got to learn. You got to hush up. You got to just learn the lessons, and you got to play your role. There's sometimes you got to take the lead. But it can't just be about you. There's got to be some things that's bigger than you. And this guy didn't realize that the Trump organization, the Trump movement is bigger than him. He keeps making it about him. Trump didn't mention my name when he said one of my lawyers got raided by the FBI. Why does your name need to be mentioned? What did he do wrong by saying one of my lawyers got raided by the FBI? He didn't say my name. Why does your name need to be said? It's not about you. It's about him. They're raiding your house because they're trying to find something to pin on him. Why? Who cares that your name didn't get mentioned? What? It's crazy. But it's about him. That same thing that this guy's got, that statement, I can hear that when I see some of the things going on with Dame Dash and his riff and what's happened with him. It's become about him. Same thing. I mean, you could find this in the Bible, right? Lucifer was an angel of God who wanted to have the influence of God. He wanted to exalt his name above all names. He wanted to rule like God ruled. But he's not the main event. God is the main event. He was a role player, an angel who was supposed to ensure that God's will got done. And then he made it about him, persuaded a third of the angels, and now we're where we are because of that decision. But that's what I'm saying. The lesson here for a lot of us is make sure you understand your role. If it's about you, be the best leader possible if you're the main event. But if you're not the main event and you're a part of a team, play your position, play your role. Don't allow your pride to overrule your good judgment, or else you end up in no man's land like this guy, or like a Dame Dash, in a sense. Taking nothing away from these guys. Dame Dash and him, pretty successful guys. I'm sure they're living pretty good lives. This is not to criticize what they've accomplished, but it's simply to say sometimes you stop your own blessings because you get in your own way, and you don't need to do that.
That's a.
He's so great, by the way.
He's phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
He's phenomenal. Have you been to the show, the Bronx Tale show he does?
No.
Oh, you've never.
No, I can pretty much do the movie by heart.
If he continues doing the one-man show, go to it once.
Where's it at?
He does it all over Broadway, New York. He does it all over. It's phenomenal.
Chaz, I'm coming.
Phenomenal. You got to go see how it is. It's incredible. So, but to me, that's your choice. Your choice is what level of pain do you want to tolerate to maintain that relationship.
So you think I should actually make a call to the White House and ask to be seen?
What's your outcome?
I could either get a yes, which would make me happy.
But what's your outcome?
What's the reason for the visit?
Yes.
Well, twofold. One, something that I'm also being attacked by, I'm going to say them again, the radical left lunatics that are lying. Michael wants a pardon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I would take a pardon, but I'm not asking for a pardon for me. I'm asking a pardon for 70 million Americans who are nonviolent felons here in America right now that are treated like second-class citizens. I actually wrote a letter which I did send in, by the way, to the White House. I call it TEPO, T-E-P-O, Trump Emancipation Proclamation Order. It would give a second chance to 70 million nonviolent felons who have finished their sentence completely. No more restitution, no supervised release, no home confinement. They are done. So there is no commutation of sentences. It is merely no longer being listed as a felon that prevents you from getting work, having a bank account, having the ability to reintegrate into society, which is exactly what they want. I have that in front of him. He would, here's a question for you. And I do not diminish the disgusting part of America's history where slavery was rampant. You know how many slaves existed in America during slavery? Do you know? Most people don't. Just under 3 million. 70 million Americans carry the stigma of felony convictions, that scarlet letter. Bank accounts, employment, housing, etc. This would give them the ability. You know who I co-authored this with? A very longtime dear friend of mine, Jesse Jackson Jr. I've been friends with his father for decades. And through his father, I met Jesse Jr., who is a felon himself, former Congress member. We co-authored this, and I sent it in. So if I had the opportunity to sit with my former boss, my former friend, who knows? Maybe 70 million Americans, mostly minority, like when I created the National Diversity Coalition for Trump. Diversity. Bring back so that it's not an issue. Oh, Donald is racist. Donald doesn't believe in diversity. It's not true. It's not true. Give me the ability within which to do this for 70 million Americans. So I would have that opportunity to sit with him. And then I would have the opportunity to look my old friend in the face and ask, is there maybe something privately you would like to say to me? Right? Maybe just between you and me. Not for the cameras, not for media. For me. You think maybe you want to say something?
This guy is cooked. This is like a psychopath. I don't think this guy is not like in his right mind. He thinks Trump needs to sit. He wants to get a meeting with Trump so he can ask Trump for a pardon. And then he's leveraging the pardon with a policy suggestion that, hey, don't just pardon me, pardon all 70 million people who probably didn't vote for you. Just pardon them so that they can get their fair share. I don't know. Maybe it's a decent idea, but it's rooted in something that benefits him. And then the second thing is he's going to sit at the table and he's going to tell Trump, is there anything you might want to privately say to me? Anything? Anything you might want to privately say to me? You know, anything on your chest that's been kind of like bothering you all these years that you might want to say to me? This dude's not right. He's cooked. That's the only word I can think of. He's fried. I don't know what's going on. Why would Trump want to say anything to you, buddy? He wasn't the one who turned on you publicly in the manner that you turned on him. He wasn't the one actively trying to get you thrown in jail for an indefinite period of time. He wasn't the one on every national liberal television defaming your name. Like, dude, why would he need to say anything to you? I pray this dude don't call this man's phone talking like that. That would be crazy. I pray he's got enough advisors who cares enough about him to tell him, that's not a good idea, buddy. Don't go in there talking like that. Because either them people are going to force you out or they're going to throw you out. But it's not the move. Why would he want to say anything to you? And why do you think he owes you that? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. This is a prime example of when you don't have the cards and you're trying to do it. It's like Zelensky going to Russia and saying, hey, don't you want to give us the land back that you've taken from us? Isn't there anything you want to say to me about that? What? Like, what? Like, what do you mean, buddy? Like, I told you I didn't want you to pursue this plan of joining NATO. You did, knowing that we feel threatened by having NATO at our borders, and we had an agreement with the West that they would not move any closer to our borders. And now you're trying to be the country that brings NATO to our borders, and we're not going to have it. So despite many efforts to prevent your ambitions to join NATO, you still pursued it. And as a result, we've devoted ourselves towards stopping that. And we've captured, with the lives of many of our soldiers, a lot of your citizens and things. And now, even though we bled and died and we've put in all this money, you want us to give the land back to you and still give you NATO security protections? Are you all the way there, buddy? Like, is everything okay? You think I went through all of this only to give you what you want from this? This is how it sounds. It sounds crazy. Bro, you cannot believe that Trump would have something he wants to say to you to appease you. This is like the crazy ex who feels like, you wronged her for separating after she dogged you out and try to make you look crazy in public. What
I went through, 51 days of solitary confinement, the first 3 days no food, when they put me the second time in because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional right and not publish my first book, Disloyal.
Now that I don't agree with. I agree that this man was probably persecuted for political reasons. That's hands down the case, but that's not something that Trump should be faulted for. That's something that, the people who used him that way, i.e. the Democratic Party and the liberals who he then sided with, are the ones to be held accountable for misusing their power and treating a person that probably didn't deserve that treatment. He should really be more mad at the people that came for him than he is mad at Trump. But he's blaming Trump for it.
They put me in a freezer for about 3 hours. You know what it's like when you're so cold and you're chattering so hard, your teeth feel like they're going to fall out of your jaw? You think that goes away? You think that's not a trigger for PTSD? Oh, I know I have it. I've had 20 different people, friends, family, whose wives, they're therapists. Like, how is it you're not seeing a therapist? And I was like, well, it's just like many things. I just don't believe in it. It's just me. I believe people should see therapists. It's just not for me. I'm like, maybe you should.
I think you should make that call. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I think you should make that call. The risk he's going to have, and I don't know if he cares. I actually think he's reached a status right now that, remember when I don't know when it was, that 2019, 2020, that if you were a Trump ally, you were worried, am I going to get sued? Am I going to do this? People were afraid to be, you couldn't go anywhere wearing the MAGA stuff. Nowadays, people are like, accepted the fact that he got reelected. Don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of chaos behind it as well. Just 2 weeks ago, he called Elizabeth Warren. Said, hey, what do you think about the 10% credit card? And she's like, I was shocked he called me.
I got canceled for that one too. I turned around and said, good for him.
Yeah.
By the way, can I ask you this? So let's just say, let me go back to what people consider me to be, that, lefty anti-Trump guy.
Right.
And I turn around and I say, you know what? Good for him for calling Elizabeth Warren. Good for him for having Chuck the Schmuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries come to his office. By the way, I never liked either of them. Ever. Not when I was doing my, and on Midas, he'd be like, why do you always have to say that? I said, I just don't like them. I think that they're worthless. They're faux outrage and anger all the time with their fist. I just don't like them. I'm allowed not to like somebody, right? So we would laugh about it. Why does that make me bad? Because I turned around and I said, good for him for having fortitude to pick up the phone and to call somebody who has been, let's just say, less than complimentary. Why does that make me a bad guy? Why is everything that I say, somebody has to make a determination about the quality of my soul and character? I'm under this microscope from everybody. Everybody thinks they have a right to judge me. Why? There's only one person that's going to be judging me, and that person's not sitting here on this planet. That I can assure you. So maybe people should learn to keep their judgments to themselves. Listen to the facts. Facts matter. Innuendo doesn't mean anything. Everybody has an opinion. Good. Now take your opinion and keep it. Right? I don't know if I'm allowed to say the things on your podcast
You can say
that
whatever
I
you
say
want
on
to
my
say.
own.
Yeah.
Stick it up your ass.
Yeah.
All right? I'm not interested in your opinion, even if it's positive towards me or negative. Just keep it to yourself. Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you have to express it. And especially to those that are attacking me wildly every single day, shame on you. Shame on you. And the funny thing is they all claim to be these devout Christians. They're all devout Christians. Really? Think Jesus would say that? Let me be very clear. When I was in Otisville, despite being Jewish, I became very friendly with the deacon that was there, Deacon Davis. Truly a phenomenal man, much nicer than the rabbi that was there. No. Really, much nicer than the rabbi. He was a terrible human being. The deacon,
the rabbi,
terrible guy. The deacon couldn't be kinder, nicer, more caring for not just the inmates, but me particularly, right? Because he realized I was suffering. There was a lot of anger and hatred. I was the highest profiled inmate in the Bureau of Prison when I was there.
Who else was there with you?
Who was there with me?
Yeah.
Mike the Situation from Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Senator Dean Skelos. Billy McFarland of Fire Festival.
Fire Festival at his peak. Yeah.
We had
You did the thing with Ja Rule, I think, the big party. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We had a couple of pretty significant notables. Joe Percoco, who was Andrew Cuomo's chief of staff. He ultimately had his conviction overturned. Good. Thank God he's a great guy. There were some significant notables, but I was the highest profiled inmate in the Bureau of Prison. In fact, I had to build my own fence.
Let me ask this.
I learned how to do a lot of things while I was there.
I mean, the deacon, that's a...
He was the kindest.
Respect.
Respect damn straight.
Yeah.
There was also a nurse. She's that was there, who also was beyond kind to me, because I have blood pressure issues, believe it or not, which I developed there. She would make sure that I was properly given my blood pressure medication. And then there were times where just the stress becomes overwhelming. And, she'd make sure. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be here today. I write about her in the book too.
Very cool. Respect.
Respect is right.
Respect for them. By the way, at what point when you started working with the president, did you know he's going to run for office? From
2011.
2011.
2011.
What happened in 11?
Oh, so okay, here we go. Ready for this? So to all the people who are maybe beginning to have a shred of compassion for me, right? 2011, I started a website. Let me go back and take it to the exam. I'm reading a newspaper, as I do, like he does every single day. And I'm reading the newspaper, and there was a survey. Who would you like to see run for the presidency in 2012 against Barack Obama? 5% said Donald Trump. That expression on your face.
2012.
2011.
2011.
Time matters. Okay.
How many people voted? Was it a good sample?
To be honest with you, I don't remember, but it was about 1,000 people.
Okay. All
Whatever.
right.
It's a fair survey.
Yeah.
And it was in the newspaper. So I rip it out. And he gets in. Now, mind you, this is, before 8 a.m. And I see he's in the office. Hey, boss, want to see something pretty freaking cool? He goes, what do you got? What do you got? And I turned around and I was like, all right, check this out. I hand it to him and I highlight it so it brings his eyes directly to what, and he's like, huh. He goes, what do you think? I said, I think it'd be pretty freaking cool. He goes, I'm kind of bored of all of this. How many more deals? How many more golf courses? How many more buildings? How many more licensing deals? I'll let the kids do that. I was like, we're in the middle of a couple right now, some pretty big ones like the BETRAYAL, right? And he had bought the ones in Scotland and in Ireland, Doonbeg. It's like, yeah. He goes, explore this. Congratulations. You got another job now, mind you. During the time period that I was with Trump, not only was I his personal attorney, consigliere as they wanted to call me, I was on the board of the Miss Universe organization. There were only 3 of us, Donald, Weisselberg, and myself.
Weisselberg?
Yes, the 3 of us were the board of Miss Universe, along with NBC, that co-owned it. I was co-president of Trump Productions, which was involved in The Apprentice and also other reality television, with a guy named Larry Glick, who runs golf. I sat on 6 different boards, real estate building boards, where I was the treasurer, because I'm very, very sharp with a pencil, like insanely sharp. So I had plenty going on with that. And it was, to say the least, another incredibly big job. So I meet this attorney out of Dallas. In fact, I still have the book. It's in a leather-bound 3-ring notebook, which I will give to his library on loan. I want to continue to own it. It's mine, right? But that set up the future.
Is this a lawyer of Andy Beal or no relation to Beal?
No relation to Andy Beal. He was a lawyer.
Okay.
He may actually work for Andy Beal. I don't know, but I was introduced to him. It's broken down into every single state, into every county, who you need to speak to. It's the most thorough book. And then I ended up going to Iowa to learn about the First and Call. We ultimately decided, let me rephrase that. Donald ultimately decided, I certainly concurred, we had negotiated another season for The Apprentice, where he was a guarantee of $60 million for that one season.
Stop it.
Don't stop it. Truth.
One season, $60 million.
Respect.
Beautiful.
Say it.
Good for him.
Say it.
Respect.
Damn straight.
Good for him.
Damn straight. 60 mil. Here's Trump's line to me. Michael, no one walks away from Hollywood. Hollywood walks away from you. I can't walk away from. And I was like, I wouldn't either, boss. Right? I wouldn't either. But he goes, if you stand with me shoulder to shoulder in 2015, I give you my word, we're going to do it. And from 2011 on, from the sweeps, is when it was the day of the sweeps, he made the decision not to go in 2012 for the presidency. To 2015, we talked about it every single day, plotting it out every single day.
Plotting it or stuff like, what do you think about what he said? I wouldn't do it this way. I would do this. Was it that kind of conversation?
Strategy.
Okay.
On everything.
Such as? Give us examples.
On everything. Okay. The war in Iran.
Yeah.
One of the things that he turned around, he goes, what sort of an idiot sends your troops and we don't keep the oil? He goes, why are we not keeping the oil? He goes, Michael, have you ever heard of the adage, to the victor go the spoils? Why are we walking away from it? I said, I don't know, he's an idiot. So he's like, I'd keep it. I said, you do realize then we'd have to surround it with the military. He goes, so what? To the victor go the spoils. Just one example. These are all, by the way, if Trump would call in right now, he'd turn around and tell you, yeah, I did say that